Chapter 1093. However, Su Fang's plan was disrupted shortly after he started cultivating. Tung Ba, who was guarding outside the crucible transformation realm, suddenly sent a message to Su Fang. A terrifying divine power was coming toward them with a crushing momentum. Su Fang was so shocked that he immediately stopped cultivating. What kind of divine power was this? Leaving the crucible transformation realm, he had just kept the crucible transformation realm in his palm. He released his great perfection and looked in the direction where Tung Ba was staring at. Buzz! Immediately. Sure enough, a divine might that could crush mountains and rivers blasted towards them like a bolt of lightning. Luo shouted a sound wave from the depths of his body. Run away. It's probably the master of the dark realm. Whoosh! Without saying a word, Su Fang and Tung Ba flew out of the depths. When they came to the void, they summoned the feather fan. The two of them kept shuttling through the void on the feather fan. The cold air hit them again and again, almost freezing them. If it was the previous insignificant realm, they would have been frozen long ago. Su Fang looked at the void behind him where the divine power was coming from, and asked in confusion, Luo, it's impossible. This time I hid my aura very well. The master of the dark realm can't sense my trace. Luo said, do you think it's those ordinary opponents? Isn't it? The first time you killed the master of the dark realm, you took the imprint rune talisman he refined. This time you killed so many people and got another imprint rune talisman. If it's the master of the dark realm, how can he tolerate a third loss? You mean this time the master of the dark realm used his means to sense my existence? That's inevitable. With your current means, hiding in such a dangerous place, even the elders can't sense your whereabouts. But why were you sensed by the host controlled by the night demon? It must be the master of the dark realm who stained you with his aura, and then sensed your whereabouts in this nether ruins. I understand, Luo. Should I escape from this nether ruins immediately? If this continues, the master of the dark realm may take action himself. That's what I'm going to say next. Since you've thought of it, why don't you run away? The Lord of the Dark World is probably a night demon that was lucky enough to survive from ancient times. It can control the host at will. I don't know how many host puppets it has controlled in the nether earth ruins for countless years. With your current cultivation, it's better to run away. All right. He immediately increased his speed to the maximum. Su Fang was able to sense most of the movements within a 20-kilometer radius thanks to his great perfection ability. The moment he focused his mind, he saw with his own eyes that there were more than 100 black-clothed men chasing after him in the air a few miles away. Moreover, there were dozens of black-clothed experts more than 10 miles away. More than 100 peerless experts. Among them, there were even a few heaven-defying masters who had reached the level of the elders. Luo was right. Su Fang was no match for them. Moreover, the Lord of the Dark Realm could command the host puppets to attack at any time. With his great perfection ability, he cast his vision further ahead. In the process of flying with Tung Ba, he looked for a way out in every corner. The hateful Nether Earth ruins had no exit. Impossible. Su Fang did not believe that such a Nether Earth ruins would have a dangerous space like the deep space fissure. Unfortunately, his great perfection ability could only sense within a 20-kilometer radius. If he could sense within 100 kilometers, it would not take long for him to discover something. After a stalemate, the feather fan was unable to shake off the experts behind him. Moreover, there were 3 experts who directly left those cultivators behind and flew over first, just like the old deity Fu Hua, who was killed before. With my cultivation, I can't control the feather fan as fast as the elders. With a thought, a powerful aura appeared on the side of the feather fan. Immortal Changgu. Following Su Fang's order, when the feather fan and Tung Ba disappeared into the Xianguang, Immortal Changgu activated his speed and aura. Taking Su Fang with him, he suddenly doubled his speed and flew away. Like a firework. The Lord of the Dark World wants to deal with me. Looking behind him, he maintained a distance of 1.5 kilometers from the 3 experts. Only then did they reach a stalemate. He immediately gave Immortal Changu a lot of powerful pills and continued to look for an exit in the vast and cold space. In less than an hour, it seemed that the Nether-Earth ruins was not very huge and boundless. Su Fong saw a boundary full of dark red light in front of him. It turned out that it was the boundary at the end of the Nether-Earth ruins. In an instant, he arrived at the end of the boundary. Unfortunately, there was no space fissure here. Immortal Changu was also looking forward to the exit. Under Su Fong's command, he continued to fly along the boundary. The three experts were chasing after him. Presumably, they all had a rune mark in their minds. In this way, the Lord of the Dark World would also know Su Fong's movements. There it is. The Nether-Earth ruins could not be completely sealed. Since it was a torn outer realm space, there would naturally be a similar tear zone. With his great perfection ability, he could see that in front of him there were cold clouds circling around, surging without a trace. And from time to time, there would be even more shocking cold air with some starlight. In the depths of the cold air, there was a dark canyon crack that was at least 1 kilometer long, covered by the cold air. I wonder what is below that tear zone. Immortal Changu also saw the space crack under the cold air, but he glanced at it uneasily. Su Fong's eyebrows were close together like a sharp sword. If we stay here, we will only die. Even if there is no way out, we have to try. Immortal Changu, you also want to return to Star Palace and continue to be an elder, right? Immortal Changu could only force a smile. She reckoned that it really hit him where it hurt. Whoosh. The two of them hurriedly escaped into the cold air, and Su Fong's eyes also looked behind. Then, with a smile, under the control of Immortal Changu, he escaped without hesitation into the dark and winding black crack zone below. In less than 3 breaths, 3 black-clothed experts chased after them, and the one in the middle was the middle-aged expert who had chased them several times before. After this, after going down, no one has come back alive. An elder beside him, said timidly. Another expert was also extremely terrified. Yes, we might not be able to come back alive if we go down. But the middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said angrily, we know very well what kind of person Master is. He never asks why he kills people, and a living person can be killed by him in an instant. We all have Master's imprint in our minds, and he only needs to slightly use his methods to control everything. If he personally uses his supernatural power, his primordial spirit power can cover the entire Nether-Earth ruins. Do we have a choice? Let's go. The 3 of them looked at each other, and in the next second, they decisively jumped into the dark and dim tear zone. Deep inside, it was full of black aura surging, as well as the space airflow spurting out. 2 figures were entangled by the space airflow, and they could not continue to go deeper. The airflow collided and covered their aura, and the friction created a human-shaped spark. It was as if the 2 of them were about to be burned into dust by the airflow. Master, the 3 of them have caught up. Below us is the chaotic space-time of the outer realm. If you go in, you'll definitely get lost. Even if you don't get lost, you'll only end up dead. The chaotic space-time flows, and all sorts of energy can destroy anything. Even ancient texts don't have any detailed records of this chaotic space-time. Below us is a forbidden zone for humans. Once you get lost, you'll never be able to return. There is no turning back once the arrow has been shot. Immortal Changu did not have time to hesitate. Su Fong released a shocking amount of divine power, and with a sweep of the divine power, Immortal Changu was shocked. He continued to tear a hole in the airflow, spurting out by Su Fong, and continued to move forward with difficulty. The 3 experts behind them were only 100 feet away. Unfortunately, because of the airflow spurting out and the impact of the aura, they could not use their supernatural powers at such a distance, nor could they use their magic treasures. The 5 of them chased each other in this almost burning, twisting, and fluctuating space crack, and it seemed that both sides were being torn apart by the airflow at any moment. After about an hour, they were only less than 1 mile deep. Immortal Changu controlled Su Fong and moved forward together, who knew that there would be a shockingly large airflow spurting out from the front. It's over. When Su Fong saw this airflow, his heart could only tremble. Immortal Changu had already given up on everything. He looked at the majestic airflow stupidly, like a fierce tiger descending from the mountain, and instantly covered the two of them. The three experts behind them did not have time to breathe and were instantly covered as well. Their final expressions were extremely ferocious. But there was no such thing as regret in this world. This is Master. To Immortal Changu and Su Fong, the world was constantly being torn apart and shattered. Everything was cold and desolate, and there was no spiritual aura. When the airflow had clearly weakened, Immortal Changu was covered in blood, and he grabbed Su Fong, who was protected by the ceiling chains. Su Fong's body was covered in finger-wide bloody wounds. His flesh was almost cut open piece by piece. Suddenly, the sound of blood spurting out came from the other side. Immortal Changu, who had just regained his senses, and Su Fong did not have time to take care of their injuries. They turned around and saw that two black-clothed experts had appeared in the airflow that had disappeared. As for the surroundings, it was a hazy space-time. Everything was floating in the void. There were no stars, no land, and no sunlight. When enemies meet, their eyes would turn red. The two black-clothed people did not care about their injuries and stepped on their flying swords. One of them was that powerful middle-aged cultivator. Su Fong did not care about his injuries. They were only external injuries. He also swallowed some pills and gave them to the other party. Immortal Changu, swallow these pills. Don't worry. The two of them did not care about anything and chased us here. They will only lose their lives. Thank you, Master. Immortal Changu was naturally happy about the high-grade pills. In fact, he had his own resources, but it was a rare opportunity to obtain such ancient pills. Whoosh whoosh, the two black-clothed experts suddenly attacked. There were originally 3 of them, but the other person was probably swept into some unknown space-time by the airflow. This was the chaotic space-time. Suddenly, Tung Ba, Mao Chong, and the 2 puppet soldiers released the Xian Guang and instantly appeared. They fought with Immortal Changu in front of the 2 experts. As for Su Fong, he was naturally not worried about anything else. It was better to recover first and then see where this place was. While swallowing the pills, Law said, "There's no need to look. This is the chaotic space-time, also known as the Star Abyss. This space has a height difference of thousands of miles in the depths of the constellation of 9 heavens where you are. Star Abyss, this was a Star Abyss." Law's words made Su Fong reveal an uneasy expression. He had only heard of the chaotic space-time, but he had often seen the Star Abyss in ancient books. In the world, there was still some low-level space-time. It was this kind of Star Abyss. The low-level space-time was formed because the energy of the world was out of balance or unevenly distributed. It was also the abyss where various materials fell from a high-level space. Some continents, some planets, after breaking, lost their energy and finally fell into this kind of Star Abyss. Most immortals did not call this Star Abyss, but the Abyss Ruins. The author's words, added to the chapter of Nanjing Xiaoyang. Chapter 1094. The Abyss Ruins. No matter where it was, he had to kill the 2 powerful warriors first. With a burst of his mind, the 2 demonic puppets attacked even more fiercely. They almost stuck to the 2 powerful warriors in black. They attacked again and again with their demonic swords. The chaotic void was filled with the sound of metal clashing. With Mao Chong and Tung Ba working together, the 2 powerful warriors in black were trapped even without Immortal Changu's help. Whoosh, Su Fong thought this was the end. Suddenly, a figure flew over from the other side. His heart skipped a beat. It was the 3rd powerful warrior who chased after him. He had found him. When his primordial spirit was shot out, Immortal Changu came from the front. He was going to deal with the 3rd man in black. Su Fong was confused. Something was not right. Why did he feel something was not right? Suddenly, he asked, "Law, didn't you say that one would get lost in the chaos?" This man in black should have been swept far away by the airflow. How did he find him so quickly? "This is how you can leave the chaotic time and space," Law said mysteriously in the blood jade. "You can't think of it, but I have to remind you at this time. In this deep space ruin, the world is the same. The space-time is very vast. It is under the normal space-time, and because of the chaotic power, this space is constantly changing. Only the power of nothingness can penetrate the space. Since ancient times, the primordial spirit has been an amazing power to penetrate the space-time. That is why this man in black found you so quickly. The three of them have imprint runes in their minds. As long as the Lord of the Dark World activates them at the same time, the three of them will sense each other's breath and will not get lost in the abyss ruins. I understand. They all have the power of the Lord of the Dark World in their minds. This power also contains the power of the primordial spirit, so the three of them can find each other anywhere. The only way to leave here is to use the primordial spirit. I see. Law, you mean to use the primordial spirit to find a direction or exit in the chaotic time and space, and then leave with the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit can penetrate formations and supernatural powers. Of course, it can also penetrate the space. This is why Charm of Night made humans helpless. Then I will get the imprint runes in the minds of these three people. In this way, I will have 5 imprint runes in total. My primordial spirit will be more powerful. Then I can use the power of Charm of Night to leave this chaotic time and space. There was always a way out. In the past, he had been feeling very worried. However, things are different now. Getting lost was the most painful thing for cultivators. Once lost, they could only wait for death. Boom! An explosive force set off an indescribable wave of dust, shaking the Sufong away. It turned out that Long Valley Immortal and the black-clothed expert had both used their strongest attacks. It was also the first time he had seen a Supreme Elder like Immortal Changu use the extreme nebula art. Almost 3 miles of the void was a world of destruction like a nebula. The black-clothed expert was sucked into it and was suppressed to the point of explosion. Don't kill him. Flying out in time, the startling wave of nebula suddenly surged with sealing power. The nebula slowly calmed down. As the Sufong flew over, a figure rushed out from it. It was the extremely powerful Immortal Changu. He pointed his finger behind him, and this force rolled out the black-clothed man who was trapped by the nebula seal. Demonic blood plate. The black-clothed man was already heavily injured and was on the verge of death. However, even so, his eyes revealed an indescribable uneasiness and fear. Furthermore, the divine power in his mind was still shooting out. Fortunately, the seal was shackling his body. Such divine power was forcefully blocked by the seal. Immortal Changu was already very strong, and he knew that the black-clothed man's ability was the primordial spirit. The demonic blood plate was like a bloody mouth, sucking the black-clothed man into it in a flash. Sufong had obtained another imprint rune talisman. There were a total of 3 of them. At this moment, he was beaming with joy, as if he had returned to the state of dominating a region in the lower domain. Immortal Changu, you have made another contribution. Do you have a Supreme Grey Dao artifact? I can give you an extremely powerful Supreme Grey Dao artifact. Immortal Changu was truly shocked. It was just a sentence, just like an ordinary cultivator. Of course, who would give a Supreme Grey Dao artifact just like that? Even the constellation of 9 heavens would not be willing to give it away. He rubbed his chin. Supreme Grey Dao artifact master. I have a Supreme Grey Dao artifact. What I lack the most is ancient pills and Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pellet. It would be even better if Yin Yang Immortal Sky Pellet could be of middle or upper grade. Currently, in the Snake Spirit Immortal Swallowing Cauldron, those refining weapons are all Sky Immortals. They are unable to refine upper-grade pills, and middle-grade pills are barely enough. Furthermore, the Snake Spirit Immortal Swallowing Cauldron is only a low-grade pill cauldron. If you have a high-grade pill cauldron and use it to suppress some experts, you can have middle or upper-grade pills. I can think of a way to get a high-grade pill cauldron for Master. It's just spending money. I am an elder after all. I have channels in this area. Immortal Changu, don't blame me for saying more. You should have seen how I treat the people below me. Although I am only a celestial immortal, I have the ability to make a big shot like you even more powerful. If you follow Star Palace, you can only become an elder. Can you even become a great elder? How amazing can your strength be raised to? But if you follow me, it will be different. With me, there are endless possibilities. I will not have any other thoughts in the future. It's good that you understand. Not everyone can have several opportunities to choose. After shouting, he went to the other side with a mortal Changgu. Fortunately, Mao Chong and Tung Ba worked together to suppress a black-clothed man. However, the most powerful black-clothed middle-aged expert was badly mutilated by the two demonic puppet soldiers. It was impossible for him to survive. Only his primordial spirit kept spurting out from his head. Unfortunately, it was useless against the demonic puppet soldiers this time, because the two demonic puppet soldiers did not have primordial spirits. Beezies, in the mind of the middle-aged, black-clothed man, an irregular primordial spirit appeared. Be careful, that imprint rune is about to escape. Law suddenly warned inside his body. Whoosh, the demonic blood plate rolled in the air like a black star. It flashed above the head of the black-clothed middle-aged man as fast as lightning. With a few whooshes, the middle-aged man was sucked into it. Law sighed again. Night Demon is very powerful. Now you see, this is not the Nether Ruins. It can control the imprint rune from so far away. Can humans do it? Night Demon, I have already met two of this Night Demon that survived. I don't know how many more I will meet in the future. If a Night Demon survives, then it is the misfortune of humans. In short, in the near future, how many human cultivators will have their primordial spirits wiped out by Night Demon and then be controlled as a puppet body? Then it will kill its way into the human world, take over and devour more human cultivators. Then I have to be stronger. He used the true demonic blood plate and sucked Tung Ba and Mao Chong into the demonic blood plate. He brought a few people with him to ride the feather fan and quickly flew away from this void. If the Lord of the Dark Realm sent more people to kill them, it would definitely be more experts. There were no coordinates in the void, no soil, only some floating objects from time to time. Fortunately, there was heaven and earth spirit chi here, but it was not that abundant. Moreover, the impurities were astonishing. Cultivating here would consume several times more energy than normal. At this moment, he was on the feather fan, and the surroundings were empty. Su Fong looked at the few experts. You guys go and look around first. It is very dangerous to mess up space and time. Let's see if there is a way out. The few of them did not say anything and carefully went out in all directions. Then, the next step is to refine the 5 imprint runes. With the Night Demon's astonishing primordial spirit power, I can use the imprint runes to leave my body and fly into the depths of the void. Otherwise, I will be lost in the messed up space and time under the star abyss for the rest of my life. He took out a spirit vein and sat cross-legged in it. He used a barrier to envelop the spirit vein and activated the world fragment. Waves of astonishing spirit chi surged towards the formation. He was surprised to find that using the power of the world of yin and yang to absorb the heaven and earth spirit chi in this messed up space, and time was not too slow. This was the wondrous use of the power of the world. Gradually it settled down. A portion of the young immortals entered the demonic blood plate, while the main body absorbed the spirit chi and continued to cultivate. Inside the demonic blood plate, 3 black-clothed men floated in the blood-colored formation. Su Fong's young immortal stared at them. One of them was extremely terrified and kept resisting. But how could he resist the primordial spirit power of a top gray Dao artifact? Only one of them survived. But this person would also die, because the imprint runes from the Dark World's Lord had deeply fused with this expert's primordial spirit and controlled it. Once the imprint runes in his mind were removed, this person would definitely die and his primordial spirit would collapse. But the imprint runes in his mind must be removed. He wanted to fuse the 5 great imprint runes. One of them was almost fused. Fusing the other 4 would not be a problem. That person was so scared that his face turned pale. Don't kill me. Don't touch the runes in my primordial spirit. That was planted by the Dark World's Lord. You can't separate it from me. Once it's separated, my soul will scatter. If I don't kill you, I will fuse and leave the messed up space and time. Anyway, you will live like a ghost. A cold light flashed. He would not pity such a person. Actually, you don't have to kill him. You can make good use of him. Law suddenly spoke. Su Fong immediately took a step back and pricked up his ears. You have already fused with one imprint rune. You might as well use that rune to fuse with the imprint in this expert's mind. You can directly possess this expert's primordial spirit and then refine the imprint and primordial spirit in his mind into your second primordial spirit clone. Is this the rumored possession? Is possession. You can use the power of the imprint to directly control and suppress the imprint in the host's mind. Then, you can skillfully possess the imprint and plant your primordial spirit in the imprint. Then, you will have a second primordial spirit clone. Law, according to what you said, I have 5 imprint runes. Doesn't that mean I can cultivate 5 primordial spirit clones? Common sense is impossible. Why? A second primordial spirit, which is a second you. It is already not easy for a person to multitask, but you still want to multitask 3 times, 5 times. Your idea is not bad. 5 primordial spirit clones. How terrifying is that? But it is impossible unless you're a night demon. Otherwise, even if you become an immortal emperor, you will not be able to control 5 primordial spirit clones. If you have too many primordial spirit clones, it will instead affect your main body's cultivation. And there are not many people in this world who can have a second primordial spirit. Fine, I was too naive. This is not naivety, but ambition. You can't do it now, but that doesn't mean you can't do it in the future. But right now, your main goal is to escape this messed up space-time. So you must have a second primordial spirit. That is the most important thing. Hee good. A second primordial spirit clone. This time, Su Fong looked at the black-robed man like he was looking at treasure. The black-robed man had naturally heard the conversation between Su Fong and Law. He had long since wanted to commit suicide, but unfortunately, he was unable to move under the heavenly devil blood plate. Night Demon's primordial spirit might be invincible, but this was only a single imprint it had refined. The heavenly devil blood plate was a top-grade primordial spirit treasure. It just so happened to counter the imprint rune's divine power. Chapter 1095. Of course, he had to ask Luo for advice before taking over. At this time, Immortal Changgu, Tung Ba, and Mao Chong had also returned. Naturally, they had not gained anything. They had come for nothing. Since that was the case, he had Green Feather King, Bai Ling, Undying Tortoise, Vermilion Emperor, Demon Venerable Tong Tian, Wooling Goblin, and dozens of other powerful big goblins come out. He also took out another spirit vein, so that everyone could absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth and cultivate crazily. In addition, he only needed to refine the black-robed men's corpses. It just so happened that the big goblin needed this kind of energy to cultivate. After preparing everything, he continued to cultivate. He was able to multitask. He sent another portion of the young immortals into the heavenly devil blood plate and officially started to take over and refine a second primordial spirit. Don't kill me. Within the blood-colored formation. When Su Fong absorbed a rune from another formation, the black-robed man who was still alive trembled uneasily. After begging for mercy several times, he bluffed. Master will not let you go. Master can enter any void. There is no place for you in any corner of the world. Su Fong suddenly trembled. Speaking of the Dark World's master, I am really afraid of him. Who is he? Master is the master of the Nether Earth ruins. Any cultivator who meets Master in the Nether Earth ruins will be shackled and imprisoned as a slave. Master can take over their hearts to cultivate and refine their bodies into puppets. Master can live forever. You don't even know how long Master has lived. How long? Very long, very long. It is not the millions or tens of millions of years that you think it is, but countless years. Master has the power of immortality. He can enter any life form at will and control any expert. If we follow Master, we will also become immortals one day. Immortals, but what I see is the Dark World's master. He can kill cultivators at will and take over their lives at will. Are you afraid? Afraid. Bang! He really thought that Su Fong was afraid of the Dark World master. The black-robed man was very proud and felt that he had a way out. However, Su Fang's fearful and uneasy gaze suddenly disappeared along with his sword-like eyebrows. In the next second, a thick force struck the black-clothed man's chest. It was just a single palm strike, but the impact was enough to make him cough up blood. Chi! Immortal Su Fangyang waved his hand, sucking in the expert's eyes. Although it looked like a human figure, it transformed into a shocking nascent divinity attack that shot into the expert's mind. An ocean of magic power. As soon as he entered the divine aperture, he stood in the middle of the ocean of magic power. As expected of an expert, the ocean of magic power surged. When combined with his true chi, he could unleash many astonishing divine abilities. Once the divine aperture was formed, magic power would be born. Hey, damn it, I won't let you succeed. Was. Destroy. The black-robed man's young immortal wrapped around the ruin. With a thunder-like explosion, the surrounding young immortal turned into a burning wave. It surged up and pressed down on Su Fang. Sky Demon Disintegration Seal. Supreme Young Immortal Sword Chi. There was no way to retreat. If it was an ordinary heaven immortal, they would not be a match at all. Even a mystic immortal could not have such a powerful young immortal. However, Su Fang's young immortal was extraordinary. Also, this was the inner world of the Sky Demon Blood Plate. It was his Tao artifact. Wasn't the other party trying to smash an egg against a rock? In an instant, when the burning wave came crashing down, a vast expanse of sword chi condensed with a sizzling sound. It was as fast as a spark as it killed its way into the burning wave. Buzz! Buzz! It was not an explosion. The collision of the two young immortal only caused a stormy wave to shake. There was not much dazzling light. Then there was a sizzling sound. It turned out that countless young immortal sword chi had shattered the burning wave from the inside. Su Fang maintained his hand seal. At this moment, the young immortal already looked transparent. It felt like it was about to disappear. However, the opponent's wave collapsed first. Then, the remaining young immortal sword chi turned into a large seal. As Su Fang grabbed out with both hands, it covered the black-robed man's young immortal sword chi. He did not expect that the black-robed rune deep in the black-robed man's young immortal sword chi was naturally the supreme power refined by the Lord of the Dark World. It was still releasing its divine power, tearing apart Su Fang's seal. It seemed like it wanted to escape. At this moment, the latter really used the Sky Demon Blood Plate's divine power. A black Xian Guang's young immortal sword chi suddenly fell from above the black rune. With a boom, it shook the rune to the point that it lost all of its divine power. It was quietly sealed and suppressed together with the black-robed man's young immortal sword chi. All kinds of young immortal sword chi were crushed in a powder like a gust of wind. They fell from above the sea of magic power and fell into the depths of the magic power world. Oomph! In a flash, he arrived in front of the sealed primordial spirit of the black-robed expert and the rune mark. He released even more of the heavenly demon blood plate's divine might to strengthen the seal. The black-clothed man's primordial spirit was in extreme despair. He no longer had any desire to live. Su Fang grabbed the imprint rune that he had fused with before. This was the first imprint that he had fused with. However, he did not have the time to plant his primordial spirit in it. At this moment, he could only fuse with it and could not use the imprint. Activating the mark, a dark and terrifying primordial spirit power surged into the black-robed man's primordial spirit within the seal, as well as the mark that was still resisting. Unexpectedly, when a resistance rune encountered the rune that Su Fang had fused with, it felt a similar power and stopped resisting. However, it still buzzed a little. Looking at the primordial spirit of the black-robed man, it was already enveloped by the primordial spirit released by the runes. It felt so peaceful that it was about to fall asleep. As expected, using the power of the mark to restrain the divine might of the same mark had such an effect. According to the seizing handprint that Law mentioned before, while constantly activating and fusing with the rune, Su Fong also slowly combined himself with the handprint. He directly opened his mouth and swallowed the trembling primordial spirit of the black-robed man. At this moment, Su Fong was really like a ferocious Rakshasa. The black-robed man's primordial spirit struggled, but it was still eaten by Su Fong's young immortal. After about half an hour, the black-robed man's primordial spirit disappeared. Su Fong's young immortal began to slowly wrap around the rune that belonged to the black-robed man, combining it with the rune that he had fused with before. At the same time, a drop of blood essence and a large amount of yin-yang world vital qi flew to Su Fong's young immortal. He wanted to take the opportunity to fuse with this rune. At the same time, he was also using his primordial spirit to fuse with the black-robed man that he had swallowed into his body bit by bit. Buzz. When the blood and vital qi wrapped around the rune, Su Fong's young immortal also began to permeate it. At the same time, the fused rune released a shocking amount of primordial spirit to protect the young immortal as he began to fuse with the rune. Main body the movements of the heavenly devil blood plate and the process of a young immortal fusing with the rune were all clearly detected by Su Fong's main body. I think the fusion will take some time. I have to release more young immortals to help the young immortal devour the black-robed man's consciousness first. This way, I can fuse with the rune faster. He had to grasp every process. He also used the heavenly devil disintegration seal and released a young immortal into the heavenly devil blood plate. Su Fong's main body released a shocking amount of spirit qi, and a large amount of natural spirit qi surged into his body. After stepping into the 5 Tao celestial immortal realm, my condition is much better. In addition, I accidentally fell into the extraterritorial space this time, and 2 more yang meridians were born. Now I have 20 yang meridians, and my strength has greatly increased. The 21st yang meridian will probably be formed soon. Once I return to the Star Palace, I have to speed up the absorption of the great pregnant purple qi in the Treasure Arcane realm. There will be news about 7 Star Child from the immortal AO Great World's Chamber of Commerce at any time. If there is news, but I don't have the strength to get the purple qi dharma spirit, it will be even more painful. To speed up his cultivation, the golden elixir heavenly cave in his body was absorbing vital qi, and the yin-yang Tao wheel was also shooting out the power of the world step by step. Then he took out the 2 black-robed men's corpses and released the void dust cauldron. He wanted to refine the 2 black-robed men's corpses into power. The power of the dozen black-robed men that he had refined earlier was being devoured by the big goblin. For example, Bai Ling was now activating the Chaos Ring, who knew how terrifying its power was. Even Green Feather King, Undying Tortoise, and Vermilion Emperor could challenge a mystic immortal realm immortal alone, and Tongtian Demon Venerable strength was not much weaker. Now, the big goblin's overall strength had taken a great leap forward. 21 yang meridians will be formed sooner or later if this continues. Now that I've fused with the 2nd deviant flame seed, cultivating the illusion fire cloud is like adding wings to a tiger. Both my arms can turn into fire clouds. If this continues, I'll be 1 step closer to the fire cloud imperial body. Only now did he have the mood to observe the changes in his body. The changes that suddenly appeared were too shocking. His body was deeper, his vital qi was abundant, and his yang energy was purer. His great perfection ability had also improved a lot, and his blood transformation true body and Black Lotus true body were far more powerful than before. Once the illusion fire cloud was activated, both his arms could instantly turn into a burning state, his divine apertures would become firmer, and his dermic power ocean would be bottomless. Buzz. Immersed in this state of cultivation, a few years passed in the blink of an eye. Su Fong, who was waiting for his 2nd primordial spirit clone to complete, suddenly felt some power explode in the depths of his body. He immediately spat out a xianguang. Within the xianguang was a black-robed man, and 2 runes floated in front of him. However, The aura of the runes were releasing the same primordial spirit aura as Su Fong. Success! Su Fong stood up excitedly, and the black-robed man appeared beside him in a flash. Apart from his appearance, his gaze and aura were the same as Su Fong's. One of the two runes also released a shocking young, immortal aura from Su Fong. Su Fong sent this rune into the black-robed man's mind. Instantly, the black-robed man spoke. True body. Su Fong patted the black-robed man's shoulder. Second primordial spirit clone? Good. True body, this physical body, is just a walking corpse to me. It's dispensable. Look, the black-robed man suddenly finished speaking, and his eyes flashed. The rune that he had just sent into his mind flew out of his eyes. Then, the black-robed man closed his eyes, and the rune spoke. Its voice was exactly the same as Su Fong's. This rune is my everything. If it's here, I'm here. If it's not, I can only return to your body. Brother, you're amazing. The surrounding big goblin, slaves, and experts looked at this scene in disbelief. Even a knowledgeable immortal Changu could only sigh. Bai Ling was the happiest. He ran over and stared at the second primordial spirit clone. After getting used to it, everyone continued cultivating. Su Fong also allowed his second primordial spirit clone to return to the black-robed man's body. However, there were still many unanswered questions in his mind. His cultivation slowed down. With his 5 heavenly immortal realms, and with so many experts, he was no longer afraid of experts like Bai Tsubing and Shangda. Chapter 1096. He sensed his second primordial spirit and found that his primordial spirit had fused perfectly with the black-clothed expert's imprint. Now, the imprint itself was filled with Su Fong's essence blood. As for the Dark World's primordial spirit, it had already been devoured. He continued to cultivate with everyone in the spirit vein formation. With the spirit vein and the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, he cultivated crazily like normal. Pills, spiritual items. Everyone had no lack of them, and they devoured them without restraint. Su Fong was trying to break through the 21st Yang Meridian and the 5 heavenly immortal realms. His Yang Immortal entered the depths of the blood jade in his body. Law, I still have 4 imprints left. How should I use them? You're still very dangerous. Do you know that? Law, who was bound by various seals, was happy that Su Fong had fused with the imprints and obtained a second primordial spirit. Dangerous. The 5 imprints you have were all refined by the master of the dark world. Think about it. He's just a night demon, and he's able to refine so many powerful imprints. If he were to suddenly attack, would you be able to resist his true body? No. So you have to think of a way to make your Yang Immortal extremely powerful, or let your second primordial spirit have the possibility to resist Night Demon. With that as your goal, you'll be able to use these imprints better. I already have a second primordial spirit. Are these 4 imprints cultivating a primordial spirit ability? No. Considering how powerful Night Demon is, it's best if you refine the 5 imprints and refine them into a single imprint that belongs to you. This imprint was refined by Night Demon and has supreme primordial spirit ability. Once the 5 imprints are combined, your second primordial spirit will surpass your first primordial spirit. Other than those immortal emperors, no expert will be able to threaten your primordial spirit. Then you can use this second primordial spirit to quickly rise and kill experts. Or like Night Demon, condensing imprints and controlling cultivators, it's very useful. 5 into 1. This is indeed the best method. Although one imprint is very powerful, if I can get it, other experts will also get it. Once the 5 imprints are combined, my second primordial spirit will be incomparably powerful. As long as I don't offend heaven-defying experts, who could be my opponent? Then it won't be easy to refine the 5 imprints into one. Night Demon is already very powerful. The hardness of these 5 imprints is probably at the peak Grey Dao artifact level. With your current cultivation, you won't be able to do it. So strong, it will only become stronger. That's only a matter of time. In the future, I'll grasp more knowledge about refining. With Immortal Changu's help, refining the 5 imprints won't be too difficult. There's one more question. Luo, now that I have a second primordial spirit, shouldn't I leave this chaotic space-time? It's best if I cultivate my second primordial spirit more and familiarize myself with it. Once I use my second primordial spirit, it will experience a lot of chaotic void energy, and it will be easily destroyed. One step at a time, after his doubts were resolved, his consciousness returned to his main body. After returning, Su Fong continued to consume all kinds of resources, cultivating the ethereal quintessence, illusory fire cloud, and Huiyin Shinrikyo's heaven and earth fire fusion art. Even a 9 heavenly stars minor aspect incantation was considered a second-tier technique. But with the true enlightenment of Misty Sword, it didn't count for much. His physical body was in a state of balanced cultivation, and he was beginning to truly understand his second primordial spirit. Luo Yi's words were very correct. If he did not truly master the second primordial spirit, once he used it blindly, he might really be swallowed by the chaotic void. A rune surged out of Su Fong's palm. As soon as the rune appeared, it floated on its own, emitting an intense young immortal's might. Su Fong transmitted, second primordial spirit, I want to fuse with the rune on a deeper level. You should also cultivate some techniques from the Heavenly Devil Blood Disc, especially the Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. The Heavenly Devil Blood Disc has some very powerful, primordial spirit, offensive divine abilities. This is the only mental cultivation technique you can cultivate. Instantly, the same voice came from the rune. I've already begun cultivating the Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. In order to become stronger and perfectly fuse with the rune, you must have extraordinary control over your primordial spirit. Main body, you and I will cultivate the Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal together and fuse with the rune. Finish. Su Fong put his palms together, and a wave of primordial spirit instantly rushed toward the rune. The rune also burned with a faint primordial spirit flame, burning together with a wave of primordial spirit of Su Fong's main body. The two shocking primordial spirits wrapped around the rune, and then the primordial spirit aura began to peel off. As it burned, different versions of Su Fong were peeled off. The Heavenly Devil Disintegration Seal. The reason why the devil race was so strong was not without reason. The primordial spirits around the rune kept peeling off, and after a long time, they were divided again and again, and then they kept going in and out of the rune and exploding. The rune itself was made of a special stone of night charm. After fusing with Su Fong's blood essence, it could now protect the second primordial spirit and also unleash shocking primordial spirit attacks. Cultivation was unfathomable, but it was also boring. Constantly repeating mental cultivation techniques and hand seals over a long period of time, those who could become strong were all peerless cultivators with a mortal Dao heart. Sizzle. He did not know how much time had passed. The main body was in the midst of cultivation. Who knew? From the aura that he released, there was suddenly an aura that disrupted the surrounding aura fluctuations. And just as Su Fong appeared, this aura suddenly turned into a power of distortion. And in an instant, a flash of lightning shot out from it, and with a whoosh, it soared into the sky. Buzz, at this moment, this lightning aura, with Su Fong as the main body, exploded in all directions, shocking the surrounding experts who were cultivating. Su Fong looked around and found it hard to believe. This aura was unexpected. It suddenly peeled off from his aura, exploded, and escaped into heaven and earth. It disappeared. He hurriedly used his great perfection realm ability and suddenly caught a powerful force that was about to disappear in the aura within his body. When he sealed this force, Su Fong's eyes were filled with surprise. This aura is from the true chi of the ethereal true scripture. That was the sign of the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture being released. Ever since he obtained the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture, he had been cultivating this cultivation technique repeatedly, but he still felt that it was incomparably mysterious. Moreover, he knew that he had never stepped into the door of cultivating the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture and had always been lingering at the doorstep. Normally speaking, The true scripture of the ethereal true scripture should contain many magical abilities, extraordinary mental cultivation techniques, and so on. However, the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture had nothing but a rough mental cultivation technique, as expected of a peerless cultivation technique. Immediately, he activated the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture to see if there were any changes. The result disappointed him. There were no changes to the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture, but there was a lot of ethereal true chi in his body. Most likely, this true chi came from the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture. There were still no changes. That lightning just now was clearly a sign formed by cultivating the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture. Unable to control this sign, it exploded and disappeared into the depths of the chaotic space. Next, he focused on cultivating the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture, but it was still not enough. He still could not catch the slightest change. In the end, he gave up. It seemed that he still needed to cultivate the true scripture of the ethereal true scripture before he could unlock its mysterious veil. At this moment, he suddenly stopped cultivating and asked all the experts to return to the void cauldron, leaving only immortal Longu. Summoning the feather fan, the two of them flew into the sky, going deeper and deeper into the chaotic space. Immortal Longu was worried. Master, the starry sky abyss is an infinitely deep, low-energy space. If we fly like this without any coordinates or direction, we will be controlled by the currents of the starry sky abyss and can only move with the currents forever. Su Fong was calm and composed. In a while, I will release my second primordial spirit and let it leave its body and wander around heaven and earth. The second primordial spirit is an existence of nothingness. It will cross the currents of the starry sky abyss, surpass any natural shackles and natural forces, and fly to a place with abundant spiritual chi. At that time, it will definitely open a coordinate. When they reached a height of tens of thousands of meters, suddenly, there was a shocking current of air in the empty space. It swept from the front left to the front right. If there was a cultivator in it, they would only end up being crushed. Second primordial spirit, you will continue to fly towards the sky and sense an aura that is different from the starry sky abyss. The place with more natural aura should be the star at the height of the great world. In front of immortal Longu, the feather fan slowed down. With a pull of his left hand, a familiar black rune appeared in front of Su Fong. Don't worry, my main body. This material is incomparably sturdy. Once I discover it, I will release my primordial spirit's divine aura. Our primordial spirits are one, and no matter how far away we are, we will be able to sense it. If it really doesn't work, you can also use the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. With this technique, there will be no mistakes. Swish! The second primordial spirit controlled the rune. Like a black arrow, it shot straight into the chaotic space covered by the currents of the starry sky abyss. I will follow you and sense the infinite stars. Su Fong sat cross-legged on the feather fan and began to form seals, releasing a shocking amount of primordial spirit's divine aura. At this moment, in the depths of the chaotic space, 10,000 meters high, the airflow was surging. Black runes flew out from the hazy airflow below. With such airflow and layers of haze, it would be strange if a cultivator didn't get lost in the starry sky abyss. There were no coordinates or any special natural forces. Everywhere was the same. Even if they left coordinates or tokens in the void star, they would still be wiped out in the face of the chaotic airflow that was constantly moving and shooting out. In the rune, the second primordial spirit, Su Fong's eyes were looking at the vast stars in shock. He felt the profoundness and wonder of the vast starry sky abyss. The rune's speed became faster and faster. It kept passing through the hazy airflow layer, and he saw some floating objects and some broken ruins. He even saw a sinking, ruined planet. When he looked down from time to time, the starry sky abyss felt like a world of trash. Any matter that came from the space of the higher energy stars would fall here after being destroyed and losing energy. My main body is very comfortable, right? Without the restraint of my physical body, the world cannot shackle me. Ha! This is what it means to be able to go anywhere. Su Fong's second primordial spirit roared domineeringly. He activated the rune and was still moving quickly. He didn't know how far away he was from the starry sky abyss. That's a good tearing space. It suddenly appeared in the starry sky abyss. The primordial spirit saw another scene that shocked him. In the depths, a familiar starry sky appeared irregularly in the depths of the void. Starry sky. Wasn't it just the boundary of the outer space? It just so happened that the starry sky was an outer space that was just below an ordinary star. Buzz! In the chaotic space of the starry sky abyss, Su Fong's main body on the feather fan suddenly broke a xianguan. He couldn't control it. Master, what's wrong? Immortal Long Valley was scared and uneasy. Su Fong recovered and slowly stood up. It's nothing. It's just that I could still maintain a connection with my second primordial spirit. But as my second primordial spirit escaped to a higher and deeper level of the starry sky abyss, the natural forces were too terrifying. We can't sense each other anymore. Immortal Long Valley bowed. I believe in you, Master. I've never seen such a young and promising cultivator like you in hundreds of thousands of years. I still have a long way to go. I still need to work hard. How big the world is, how deep the earth is. This trip to the nether ruins, I've really experienced it. Su Fong was neither arrogant nor proud. He was as calm as an ancient well. Chapter 1097. In the void, Su Fong and Immortal Chang Gu rode on the feather fan and waited for the news from the second primordial spirit. Immortal Chang Gu looked away from the hazy void and nodded at Su Fong. Master, once I leave the chaotic space, I will return to Star Palace directly. With Master's current ability, Star Palace can't keep you here anymore. Su Fong had actually thought about this before. He wanted a plan after he got out, but he had time now. I need to discuss this with you. Which part of Star Palace are you in charge of? There are many elders in Star Palace. I am in charge of the internal dojo and some special dojos. I don't have much to do usually, and I have a good relationship with Star Palace. Master, it is too inconvenient for you to stay in Treasure Secret Land. I can let you enter Great Ancient Dojo directly. Huangfu Dojo's elder or Huangfu Dojo, who has a higher position. How do I describe it? He controls a dojo and has 100,000 disciples. Naturally, he is more important. But for some core matters, I have more say. Is that so? I have my reasons for staying in the Treasured Weapons Secret territory. I need to upgrade 3 magical treasures and master the art of refining. For the time being, I will stay in the Treasured Weapons Secret territory. There are many restrictions on me, including special disciple Li Tianqi and some core members of Huangfu Dao sect. Li Tianqi also came to Huangze Astral to look for treasures. Those special disciples want to get the inheritance of Devil Emperor Dojo. Master, Li Tianqi is indeed a key disciple in the sect. He is very important, and his position is similar to the elders. But he can't be compared to Master in any aspect. He is only stronger than you temporarily. I know myself. I can't even deal with a core disciple in Xian Immortal Realm, let alone Li Tianqi. Once you leave the chaotic space, go back to Star Palace. Also, about Dai Yi, tell them that you chased her to the depths of the extraterritorial space, and she was swept away by the airflow. I don't know if she is dead or alive. Whatever Master says, I will do. In front of a disciple of the heavenly celestial realm, the dignified elder Changgu Immortal was also very respectful, as if he was treating the Star Palace Master. I reckon that when the time comes, I will need you to coordinate with me from the inside and outside to help me deal with all kinds of difficulties in Star Palace. Don't worry. Normally, I won't ask for your help. Su Fong said a few more words. He waited for another period of time. However, there was still no movement. He could only use the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. This time, he could sense it. It was in the boundless space-time sky. It seems that he would have to wait for a while. Su Fong once again stimulated his crucible transformation technique, while secretly refining the corpses of the 2 black-robed powerhouses. He estimated that he would need a lot of energy along the way. That is, unexpectedly, Su Fong showed a very surprised expression. With a wave of his hand, a corpse flew out from his palm. It was the strongest, middle-aged, black-clothed cultivator under the Dark Realm Lord. Long Valley Immortal was also very curious. When he saw Su Fong grab the abdomen of the corpse, it turned out to be a black crystal about the length of a finger. This substance seemed to be born from the essence of the stars, emitting a faint starlight. It was exactly the same as a world fragment. It turned out to be a world fragment. After coming to the big world for so long, I only found a world fragment like this. In his eyes, there was only this world fragment. It was too inconceivable. He had experienced the power of a world fragment. Long Valley Immortal was also surprised. Master, congratulations on obtaining a world fragment. This kind of treasure can only be found by chance. Only a few special disciples or elders have this kind of treasure. I thought that all the more powerful cultivators have world fragments. In fact, world fragments are relatively easy to obtain. It's just that world fragments are not easy to cultivate. Ordinary cultivators will not choose to cultivate. Instead of cultivating world fragments, it's easier to cultivate cultivation techniques and magic treasures. I reckon that many cultivators are not willing to choose to cultivate world fragments. The reason why this black-clothed man is so powerful is because he is fused with world fragments. This subordinate's guess is right. Master should also have a world fragment. How did you know? During this period of time following Master, this subordinate secretly discovered that Master is able to gallop freely in this chaotic space-time as a heavenly immortal. It's not because of the feather fan or magic treasure. In addition, Master's aura occasionally reveals the profoundness of the stars. You must have fused with world fragments. Most of the special disciples, or true experts in the Star Palace, have world fragments. The sect will also help them fuse with world fragments. I see. Do you have world fragments? If not, you can have it. Su Fongda grabbed the world fragment in his palm. No, this subordinate already has a world fragment. Thank you, Master. The latter bowed. Long Valley Immortal was so powerful and was also an elder. He must have world fragments. In that case, Su Fong gave the world fragment to Green Feather King. He let him fuse with the world fragment in the Crucible Transformation Realm. He could control the Crucible Transformation Realm and let Green Feather King fuse with the world fragment in the shortest time possible. About half a month later, a stream of mysterious energy transformed into a stream of magical Taoist inscriptions. Suddenly, it appeared around Su Fong like a thunderbolt. Ha! The second primordial spirit has finally successfully passed through the endless chaotic space-time and went to the vast stars above to wait for us. Feather fan. It turned out that it was the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. It just happened to sense the power transmitted from the second primordial spirit from the depths of the sky. Calling out the feather fan, Su Fong and Long Valley Immortal drove the ancient treasure. Su Fong maintained the state of activating the heavenly secret life shrinking technique and then carefully flew towards the distorted void high up in the sky. The airflow was boundless. It was not the state of tearing space. This was a vast star. The airflow covered thousands of miles and then covered layer by layer, constantly moving. This was the reason why humans would get lost in this kind of world. Even if they did not get lost, it was easy to encounter a more violent airflow and be buried in the void. Fortunately, Su Fong had the sensing ability of the Great Circle and the aura and coordinates left behind by the second primordial spirit. However, his speed was still affected by the airflow and was not too amazing. Like driving a lonely boat, the two moved forward blindly in the depths of the sea. Until half a year later, after passing through countless layers of airflow, he could sense the second primordial spirit's aura and location without using the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Su Fong looked around again. It was no longer a world of hazy airflow. Although it was not as chaotic as the chaotic space-time, it was still very strong. The entire void was filled with faint starlight. Heaven and Earth suddenly became a familiar galaxy. Buzz, buzz, Long Valley Immortal's token suddenly kept buzzing. When he released the token, It turned out that the higher-ups of the constellation of Nine Heavens were looking for him. They wanted to use their supreme skills to rescue him from the chaotic space-time in the astral Huangze. Su Fang asked him not to respond for now. After a while, he would meet the second primordial spirit. Then, he continued to fly towards the higher levels of the galaxy for a while. Suddenly, he saw an object. It was the desolate city of Tiantu. Looking deeper, he saw an object the size of a fist. It was merged with the galaxy in the depths. That was the astral Huangze. Su Fang looked at Long Valley Immortal. According to what we discussed before, you go and meet with the astral palace first. The latter could not wait to fly to the astral Huangze. The second primordial spirit was also absorbed into Su Fang's body. It temporarily merged with the Master in Black. Su Fang also took Ghostface Rakshasa. He did not rush back to the constellation of Nine Heavens. Instead, he flew directly to the desolate city of Tiantu. The desolate city of Tiantu. Su Fang, who appeared as Ghostface Rakshasa, suppressed the demonic qi and his own genuine qi. In addition, his cultivation could not be seen. As soon as he appeared in the desolate city of Tiantu, no one dared to ignore him. The first thing he did was to gather information from the Chamber of Commerce. It had been more than 10 years since he fell into the extraterrestrial space. He did not know how many things had happened in the astral Huangze. He found a forest near the city. After casting a barrier, he began to absorb all kinds of talismans. The information in the token was too widespread. There was too much news, and the coverage was very wide. There was also much news related to the Nine Heaven Astral Palace, but it was all centered around the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dojo. Now, other than the Yuan Fortune Great World and the Immortal AO Great World, there were also forces and cultivators from the surrounding great worlds gathered in the desolate swamp astral realm. Fortunately, the Huangquan Devil Emperor's Dojo had not been truly excavated. Buzz Su Fang, who was in the middle of conserving his strength, suddenly sensed a familiar aura in the depths of the forest through the senses of a great perfection expert. His great perfection perception could now cover a range of 10 miles. It was a familiar aura. He immediately used his great perfection vision and looked toward the infinite forest. In the depths of the forest was the city. In the clouds of the mountain peak, he saw a fat cultivator who was dressed like a beggar. As soon as he saw the fat cultivator, Su Fang suddenly looked like he was going to eat someone. He put away the array and followed the fat cultivator back to the desolate city of Tiantu. There was a sea of people in the city. There were probably hundreds of thousands of immortals who came here to try their luck and get Dharma treasures or the Huangquan Devil Emperor's Dojo. In order not to attract attention, Su Fang absorbed Ghostface Rakshasa into his body and used the bone-changing technique to change his appearance to that of an ordinary cultivator. When he came to the crowd and entered a chamber of commerce, he was attracted by a fat cultivator who was covered with a coarse cloth. Monk Shangda felt a chill in his heart. Su Fang wanted to give that person a kick. So the fat cultivator was Monk Shangda, who had cheated him before. This guy was pretending to be an ordinary cultivator again. He was selling some upper-grade Dharma treasures to the Chamber of Commerce. This person's identity was probably a merchant now. His mouth was really good at deceiving people. You heard? Of course I heard. It's the first fairy. Who doesn't know her? But so what if she got a treasure? She was still hunted down in the Phoenix Transformation Valley. Many young talents went to save her. Su Fang, who was in the middle of the crowd and was about to deal with Monk Shangda, suddenly heard a few immortals chatting at the counter of the Chamber of Commerce. The first fairy? Wasn't that Fairy Xuanxin? He curiously asked those people and found out about Fairy Xuanxin. It turned out that when she was fighting for a treasure in the Phoenix Transformation Valley, she accidentally got a treasure that was out of this world. She was being hunted down by countless experts. In the Huangze astral realm, no matter who you were or where you came from, once you had a treasure in your hands, you would be killed. It won't be easy to deal with Monk Shangda. I might as well go to the Phoenix Transformation Valley to take a look. There are many experts there. Now that I have a second primordial spirit, I can wantonly suppress experts and make them refine pills, refine weapons, set up formations, and become puppets for me. Thinking of this, he glared at Monk Shangda and quickly left the Chamber of Commerce. Does this person know me? He has been following me into the Chamber of Commerce. Looks like he doesn't know me, but knows my identity. Interesting. Only very few people can see through my identity. For example, poison refiners like by tubing usually won't discover it. Unexpectedly, Monk Shangde, who was pretending to be a merchant, also quickly finished the transaction and left the Chamber of Commerce in a hurry. Outside, the heavenly earth-desolate city, Su Fong, who was standing on a flying sword, had the ghost-faced Rakshasa with him. His aura had disappeared, leaving only a faint evil aura. With the ghost-faced Rakshasa, he was an evil cultivator. In less than 10 days, he stepped into the Huang-Zhe astral realm again and went straight to the familiar, dangerous Phoenix Transformation Valley. Author's words, "Today, I'll make up a chapter. Over time, he..." Chapter 1098. Su Fong had entered and exited Huang-Zhe astral realm a few times. The shackles from the star fog were becoming more and more insignificant to him. At the same time, Immortal Changgu sent a message with his primordial spirit. He had successfully met with the experts from the constellation of 9 heavens, but he wouldn't be rushing back to Star Palace for a while. He revealed that Star Palace was determined to get Huang Quan Devil Emperor's dojo and had sent many elders and core disciples to hide in the wasteland. At this moment, Su Fong came to the familiar depths of the clouds again. He was very familiar with the aura in front of him. It was the Phoenix Valley. Under the heavy clouds was a bottomless valley. There were also terrifying space cracks under the valley. Occasionally, he could feel that the airflow was affecting the natural aura of the valley. As he got closer to the valley, he also used the celestial secret life shortening technique and his perfect sensing ability. In an instant, he felt the aura of cultivators from Demonic Mountain, Huiyin Shinrikyo, constellation of 9 heavens, and even Jinwu Villa. There was even the aura of the clear skies 1,000 scroll door that was similar to that of Fairy Xuanxin. There were tens of thousands of strong auras here. Almost all of them were experts like the special disciples. Huangfu Fei's aura. Su Fong, who was sensing the whereabouts of Fairy Xuanxin, didn't expect to feel Huangfu Fei's weak aura first. It was coming from the depths of the valley. Huangfu Fei. This woman came too. However, Su Fong still approached the aura of the dozens of clear skies 1,000 scroll door disciples. At this moment, he was already deep in the valley. Various airflow, storms, and cultivators brushed past Su Fong from time to time. With his current sensing ability, he could completely guard against any natural danger. Also, his perfect vision could see through the star fog. In the depths of the valley, he passed through layers of abyss. Suddenly, he slowed down. In front of him was a cliff covered in moss and leaves. There were more than 20 auras being released. When he got closer, there was a formation in the depths of the valley. The formation couldn't be seen through with the naked eye. When he saw through the formation with his perfect vision, he saw more than 20 experts from the clear skies 1,000 scroll door resting. They were all powerful figures. He glanced around, but didn't find Xuanxin's whereabouts. If I can't find Xuanxin, I'll see if there are any treasures here that can be obtained or suppress some experts. I'll rush back to Star Palace and continue absorbing the great pregnant purple qi. Since he could not find the whereabouts of goddess Xian Xin, Su Fong did not plan to continue searching. Furthermore, goddess Xian Xin was extremely powerful, so she should not be in any danger. Moreover, there were also experts from the Clear Skies door. He then approached the dangerous place in the depths of the canyon where the treasures were being ejected. Suddenly, a disciple of the 10,000 Scrolls Gate of Green Mountain flew out stealthily, hiding his aura to the extreme. Su Fong didn't care about a mere disciple who was strong. However, this disciple also happened to be flying towards the depths of the Phoenix Transformation Valley. He was almost shoulder to shoulder with Su Fong and was separated by 3 miles. Because of the clouds and various kinds of energy shackles in the wasteland, that cultivator was unable to detect Su Fong. However, Su Fong could detect each and every movement of that cultivator with his perfection stage ability. Seeing that he was about to reach the dangerous place where the treasures would appear, Su Fong suddenly stopped and his expression changed. He immediately hid behind a rock and looked ahead carefully. A familiar aura of a lady with silver sand covering her face flew over from the other side in a white dress. Huang Fu Fei. The lady made Su Fong's heart tremble. He didn't expect Huang Fu Fei to suddenly appear here. Enemies were bound to meet on a narrow road. Luckily, he was Ghostface Rakshasa and not a disciple of Star Palace. He saw Huang Fu Fei and the disciple from the clear skies thousand-scroll door who flew over together with Su Fong. The disciple greeted Huang Fu Fei politely. Senior Fei, senior brother asked me to inform you that he's coming to Huang Zhe Astral soon. Thank you. Huang Fu Fei nodded. Senior Fei, I'm going to scout ahead. Maybe I'll find Fairy Xuanxin. The disciple was even stronger than Qi Yanzi. After he finished speaking, he flew into the depths. Fairy Xuanxin. Hearing this, Su Fong understood why Huang Fu Fei was there. It seems that Huang Fu Fei and the experts are here to look for Fairy Xuanxin. Special disciples are the same. They have such influence in other sects too. After a few breaths, Su Fong was ready to leave. Since so many people were concerned about Fairy Xuanxin and there were countless experts, he'd better go and look for the treasures. He couldn't come here for nothing. Then he'd cultivate in Huangquan Blood Sea for a while. Just as he had that thought, before he could move, he heard a sharp sound that cut through space with his perfect hearing ability. Suddenly, it tore through space from the depths of the void and appeared next to Huang Fu Fei. What shocking speed! He felt cold and subconsciously looked at Huang Fu Fei again. Who is it? How could he be so powerful? Not even Master Changgu's speed could reach such a level. Who is it? Originally, he wanted to release his sensing ability. But when he thought about how terrifying this person's speed was, he became even more cautious. He must be the senior brother that the disciples from Gate of Infinite Scrolls mentioned. This senior brother was so powerful that he could reach the astral Huang Zhe in just a few breaths. His hearing and vision were gradually activated. When he passed through the star fog and saw two blurry figures, he first heard Huang Fu Fei's voice. You're just in time. I thought you were still in closed-door cultivation. Next to her, a man with no imposing manners said, the appearance of Huangquan Devil Emperor's dojo is such a big event. How could I miss such a great event? Who wouldn't want to get his inheritance? Huang Fu Fei continued, but no matter how powerful Huangquan Devil Emperor is, he wouldn't be as powerful as the treasure that you have. That is one of the 10 great Tao artifacts of the great world. There is no comparison. Treasures are treasures. But for Huangquan Devil Emperor to be able to become a supreme being, he must have extraordinary means. If I can get his means of creating reincarnation, and with this Tao artifact of mine, the world will be mine, Yin Senshin's, sooner or later. You didn't inform your sect's elites that you are coming. Why should I inform them? The elders don't have the right to know where I am going. Let's find a quiet place to have a good chat. You are so bad. Huh. The blurry figure of the man let out a domineering laugh. Then, he swept Huang Fu Fei's figure into the depths of the fog. They were gone. Under Su Fong's shocked face and his perfect sensing ability, the two disappeared in an instant. His sensing ability couldn't pinpoint their direction. Yin Sunshin. Su Fong swallowed his saliva and felt that his body was like wood. He's Yin Sunshin. Rumor has it that he is the #1 disciple of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. As expected of the #1 disciple, his aura and speed are so terrifying. The more ordinary an elder is, the more special disciples there are. Even Li Qianxi, Tong Yu, Lian Changxian, Chou Yun, and the other special disciples didn't give me such an ethereal aura. Unexpected. It was too unexpected to meet a peerless genius whose name shook the great world here. That's right. Huang Fu Fei mentioned the 10 great Tao artifacts of the great world. Could it be the 10 great Tao artifacts that are as famous as the Xinjia Gate? If Yin Sunshin really has such a Tao artifact, it is reasonable for him to be so extraordinary. 10 great Tao artifacts. After coming to the great world, I can finally experience the glory of such a peerless Tao artifact. 10 Great Tao Artifacts. Su Fang's heart thumped. He had experienced the power of the Xinjia Gate a few times. The ancient flood dragon and the large number of immortals that were shackled inside. He did not expect that Yin Senshin, a disciple of the clear sky Thousand Scrolls Gate, would have one of the 10 Great Tao Artifacts. Just now, I heard Huang Fu Fei's tone. Why does it not sound like the Huang Fu Fei I know? She and Yin Sanshin seem to be flirting like Tao companions. Is their relationship originally like this? Su Fang frowned. He suddenly felt that the circle of special genius disciples was too messy. Didn't they say that Yin Sanshin and Fairy Xuanxin were together? But now, he felt that Huang Fu Fei and Yin Sanshin seemed to be Tao companions. The circle of the rich was really messy. We don't know whether Fairy Xuanxin is alive or dead, but Yin Sanshin is with Huang Fu Fei. Su Fang shook his head. He could only sigh. Sensing that there was no one around, he immediately looked towards the place where the airflow was gushing out. Maybe he could find some treasures this time. Last time, he had obtained many things here, such as a palace feather from the boundless secular palace. Soon, he came to the familiar depths of the canyon ruins. Occasionally, there would be some star fog in the void, stirred up by the airflow. Su Fang sensed many cultivators. There were probably thousands of different kinds of experts looking for treasures here. There were even disciples of the Star Palace. Save me. He deliberately avoided those experts. Then, he activated the purple spiritual energy in his right arm. His right arm released an aura to sense danger. If there were treasures, his right arm would react. Coincidentally, there was a series of explosions in the depths. An expert, probably about the same level as Nangong too, was being chased by a few cultivators. Originally, he should have pretended not to see this. But when Su Fang sensed the aura of the pursuers, he felt that they were very familiar. The experts under by Tsubing. It would have been better if he did not look. Once he saw the poisonous vital energy of the pursuers, he sensed that their aura was very similar to Bai Tsubing's. Cultivators all had a kind of vital energy. This vital energy was a special existence formed by one's bloodline, life, vital energy, and treasures. It was a unique existence. In a world of cultivators, vital energy was the most basic method to distinguish a cultivator. The vital energy of these experts was somewhat similar to Bai Tsubing's. There was no such coincidence. It was most likely that they were the experts under Bai Tsubing's command. Haha, what a coincidence. I think Bai Tsubing is still sending his subordinates to look for me. He wants to take back the feather fan. Su Fang suddenly looked at the pursuers. The strength of his subordinates is not bad. They could be my puppets, refining pills for me, activating treasures, or even crucible transformation. I don't have absolute confidence in dealing with Bai Tsubing, but I have absolute confidence in dealing with such experts. He had come here for the treasures and to suppress the experts. Great, he still did not have a good target. Bai Tsubing was the best target. Hiding his aura, Su Fang used his astonishing senses to bring Ghostface Rakshasa into the sky. Not long after, in a dangerous valley more than 30 miles away, a group of people had arrived. A series of rumbling explosions came from the inside. Su Fang arrived at the top of the valley and activated his Great Circle ability. He saw 3 experts releasing poisonous gas around and kill that cultivator. They had already heavily injured him. Very good. I want all 4 of you. Come out. Releasing a mysterious light, 18 experts flew out from within, each of them carrying a merciless flying sword. Under Su Fang's gaze, the 18 of them instantly spread out, forming a circle, and began to fly down the valley from above with lightning speed. As for Su Fang, he secretly sensed his surroundings. This desolate land was filled with danger. He could not casually make a move. The key was to see if there was anyone spying on him. Otherwise, if he was secretly targeted by such people, he might lose his life. Xiao, terrifying Xin Guang, surged out of the valley below. Bursts of explosions and bursts of burning sword qi formed a sword seal array that sealed the valley. Chapter 1099. The emotionless sword formation had already trapped the 4 experts in the valley. No matter how capable they could not escape. Su Fong wanted to make a move, but he was floating in the star fog above. He could feel that the world was filled with deadly star sand and could not absorb true qi. However, he had already absorbed the essence of the world and borrowed the power of the stars. Initially, he wanted to make a move as well. However, his eyes suddenly bulged as if he had discovered something. Something was amiss. Whoosh! He should have been paying attention to the sword formation below, but he did not expect him to turn around. He stepped into the air and grabbed at the void, instantly killing his way out of the star fog 1 mile deep behind him. His palm did not attack directly, but grabbed a patch of poison. Poison eating. As he attacked the star fog void at an astonishing speed, the poison started to explode around him. Sizzle. It was unknown why Su Fong suddenly attacked the void where there was nothing. There was only star sand, and the poison continued to explode and churn. Suddenly, a figure was covered by the poison gas and turned into a figure corroded by the poison gas. He staggered and hurriedly escaped from another direction. Su Fong stepped on his feather fan and chased after him, releasing another patch of poison. The poison gas trapped the figure for a moment. When it was about to fly away, Su Fong had already blocked its path. The poison gas began to peel off the figure. This person was an expert. The poison gas only covered his aura and did not seep in. In the blink of an eye, the poison gas was completely removed. A fat cultivator and Su Fong stared at each other in the star fog. "It's a misunderstanding, brother," the fat cultivator hurriedly explained. Su Fong withdrew the poison gas. His expression under the ghost face Azura could not be seen. "Don't think that I don't know who you are. Mengshangde, you obtained many treasures in the Huang Zhe astral world. Everyone is thinking about you, right?" The other party was startled. "You have a pair of sharp eyes. However, if you did not look at me first in the heavenly earth desolate city, why would I follow you here? If you did not look at me, how would you know that I was looking at you? You're also an expert. I have been in the celestial world for so many years, but only a few people can see through my identity. Didn't Bai Tsubing also see through your identity? How did you know?" Fat immortal Shangda's eyes were filled with a look of indifference before, but suddenly, divine light gathered in his eyes and a sharpness was released. "The desolate swamp astral is only so big. I know a lot about you, Monk Shangda, but I've also heard a lot about you. However, I'm not your enemy. You don't have a bottom line when you do things. I've long heard that you call yourself a Buddhist cultivator, but you're a greedy guy. You're comparable to Bai Tsubing. Nonsense. That's all nonsense. But speaking of which, brother suddenly wants to attack the experts under Bai Tsubing. Bai Tsubing is an enemy, right? Coincidentally, I'm also an enemy of this person. Why don't we join hands and deal with this person? I heard that he has obtained quite a few ancient, unique treasures." When Su Fong heard this, he sneered in his heart. "If we were together to deal with Bai Tsubing, how are we going to split the treasure?" Fat immortal Shang slapped his thigh fiercely. "Of course, we'll split it in half. Everyone who saw it has a share." "Bah, who do you think you are, Mengshangde? I've heard so much that my ears have grown calluses. Leave. My relationship with Bai Tsubing has nothing to do with you. Go back to where you came from. Still trying to bewitch him? The last time he bewitched him, there would be a second time. Brother, don't be angry. I think your mask should be a legendary treasure from the demonic mountain, right?" Fat immortal Shang was very thick-skinned and did not give up. However, Su Fong turned around and no longer paid any attention to him. No matter how much this guy hides his aura, it's still a little familiar. There's still plenty of time in the future, With a whoosh, Fat immortal Shang hurriedly left like a commoner cultivator. Fat immortal Shang's cultivation is so high. I can't see through his aura at all. Bai Tsubing is also a powerful character. Each of them is probably as strong as Immortal Changgu. After sensing for a while and not finding any traces of Fat immortal Shangda, he was relieved. Fat immortal Shangda was really powerful. He hid his aura perfectly. Luckily, He had the ability of a great circle immortal cultivator and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique. Even if he was an ordinary cultivator, he would probably die in the hands of this damn monk today. The fat monk was still thinking about Bai Tsubing's treasures. Of course, Su Fong was also thinking about it. However, he did not dare to have any ideas about those experts at the moment. When he became stronger in the future, he would definitely suppress cultivators like Fat Immortal Shangde and Bai Tsubing. Master. At this moment, in the star fog layer, Su Fong was on guard and sensing his surroundings. The 18 experts flew over and suppressed the 4 bloodied cultivators. Fat Immortal Shangde probably saw how I used the 18 experts and how I made them activate the sword formation. He knew my methods, so he only spied on me in the dark and did not attack me. With a wave of his hand, the 18 experts and their flying swords disappeared into thin air. Only the 4 sealed and heavily injured cultivators were left. Su Fong extended his aura and suddenly arrived at a nearby mountain peak with the 4 of them. Spare us, spare us. The 4 of them knelt down and kowtowed continuously. They were terrified and were afraid that they would lose their lives. 3 of them were experts under Bai Tsubing. Their strength was about the same as the 35 slaves and could not be compared to experts like Mao Chong. Su Fong used the identity of Ghost-Face Rakshasa and introduced himself first. He said what kind of demon he was, scaring the 4 of them. He then asked, "You guys are unlucky to have met me. I have a grudge with Bai Tsubing, but I will not kill you guys. However, I want to know what treasures Bai Tsubing obtained recently and where he is. My lord obtained a powerful, ancient flying sword previously. He seems to have killed a few experts and snatched their resources. He also obtained a spirit vein and is gathering experts. He wants to obtain the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dao Ground. We joined him because of his reputation." The 3 cultivators quickly answered and fought to be the first to answer. It seemed like Bai Tsubing had obtained quite a number of treasures. He even had a spirit vein and an ancient flying sword. When the experts saw that Su Fong did not show any curiosity, one of them suddenly bowed and said, "That's right, we just heard that Lord Bai Tsubing went to look for that 5-colored Xian Guang treasure." "What is that 5-colored Xian Guang treasure?" As expected, Su Fong's tone became serious. About 10 years ago, a treasure with 5-colored light was shot out from the depths of this place. Unfortunately, it was obtained by the number 1 fairy from the clear sky, Thousand Scrolls Door. After Lord Bai Tsubing knew about it, he searched everywhere for her. We just heard that Lord Bai seemed to have found some traces of the number 1 fairy. That is to say, the number 1 fairy obtained that 5-colored Xian Guang treasure and attracted many cultivators to fight for it. Yes, the number 1 fairy is called Fairy Xuanxin. She is a peerless beauty. Unfortunately, her luck is bad. Everyone knows that she obtained such a treasure. Since you guys want to live, use the token now and contact Bai Tsubing or the experts under him. Try to find out where Bai Tsubing is. Just say that you guys obtained many treasures and want to give them to Bai Tsubing. Yes, the few of them obviously knew that Su Fong was also attracted by the 5-colored Xian Guang treasure. This way they would not be killed. They quickly activated their tokens. At the same time, Su Fong also activated the seal seed. Taking advantage of the fact that the 4 of them were sealed and heavily injured, she injected it into their minds and golden cores. While waiting, she saw that the 4 of them were well behaved. She took out some pills and allowed them to heal their injuries. In less than half a day, the 4 of them had their tokens activated. However, they were disappointed. They only knew that Bai Tsubing was also in the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. He had appeared in an abyss before, but no one knew his exact location. That was also true. For a peerless expert, even his subordinates would not know his exact location. However, Bai Tsubing should have appeared in that dangerous place before. After sucking the 4 of them into the Crucible Transformation Canyon, Su Fong immediately flew out and headed towards the depths of the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. I'll take a look at Fairy Xuanxin on the way. Then, I'll take a look at that 5-colored Xian Guang treasure. It should be extraordinary. Otherwise, why would Bai Tsubing chase after Fairy Xuanxin relentlessly? And why would so many experts want that treasure? The Phoenix Transformation Canyon was very big. It was one of the biggest, dangerous places in the desolate Lake Star boundary. There were many places that Su Fong had not been to before. When they arrived at the depths of the canyon, they were still surrounded by surging star fog or turbulent air currents. Deep into the canyon, there were abysses and cliffs everywhere. It felt as if the ground had been cut open by the air currents. From time to time, there would be air currents spurting out. Even though Su Fong had experienced the outer space and knew how powerful the air currents were, it was still very dangerous to come to such a dangerous place again. After searching for a while, he still did not find anything. It seemed that only the Heaven's secret life, shrinking technique, and the perfection stage ability could allow him to quickly find something. After escaping into a bottomless abyss, he quickly covered a messy and collapsed ruin. From this ruin, a wisp of smoke-like aura suddenly rose. Don't underestimate this subtle aura. It turned out to be the aura of the divine arts left behind by Fairy Xuanxin, by Tsubing, and many other experts. Su Fong was sure that Fairy Xuanxin had encountered a fierce battle here. There were a total of more than 10 auras in this ruin. It could be seen how intense the battle was. He continued to use his senses and felt a few powerful auras in the depths. When Su Fong got closer, he felt that the auras of these experts were not ordinary. They were similar to one of the auras in the ruins. Among these people, one of them must have fought with Fairy Xuanxin. Using his hearing, he could hear about 5 miles away. In such a dangerous space, even the elders would not be able to clearly sense the movements within 5 miles. They seemed to be resting. One of the cultivator's aura was very uneven. He should be injured. It should be this person who had fought with Fairy Xuanxin. About a few days later, he heard someone speak. "Big brother, let's leave. So many experts want the 5-color Xianguan. We have no chance at all. Also, I heard that a large number of cultivators have appeared from the clear skies Thousand Scrolls door. Once Fairy Xuanxin meets up with them, it will be even more impossible for her to obtain the treasure. I can't accept that Fairy Xuanxin is trapped here, hiding from those experts." Both of them said a few words, and then there was no more movement. This person was probably heavily injured. Su Fong frowned. He immediately leapt towards the abyss. The abyss was too deep, and there were even more cliffs in the depths. They continued to extend into the wasteland. It was very complicated, and it was very easy to get lost. Su Fong did not know how deep Fairy Xuanxin was hiding or which cliff. He could only dodge the jets of air and use his senses. With the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique, as long as he was within 3 miles, he would be able to detect her. Unfortunately, the abyss was at least hundreds or thousands of miles long. How could he detect a single cultivator? Why am I so stupid? As long as I can sense powerful cultivators, they will naturally be the ones who are chasing after Fairy Xuanxin. If I can sense them, it means that I'm very close to the fairy. His brain worked quickly, and he instantly knew what he had to do. After sensing the intricate abyss, even Su Fong himself almost lost his sense of direction. The jets of air were getting farther and farther away. Buzz, finally, the heavens did not disappoint him. He finally sensed a breath of life. Chapter 1100. This life aura suddenly appeared from the depths of the cliff to his right, about 2 miles away. He immediately chased after it secretly using his great perfection vision to see through the layers of star fog. He saw that the owner of the life aura was a female cultivator. The female cultivator was still very young, about 23 years old. Her Taoist robe was a little different. It was pieced together with many blue and black steps. She did not seem to be a cultivator from an ordinary power. Her appearance was also very delicate, but from the rhythm of her breathing, she seemed to be injured. She seemed to be searching for something as well, searching along the bottomless abyss. Her cultivation was far superior to Su Fong's, so some of the air currents were unable to truly threaten her. However, when it came to the actual air currents, she could only avoid them. Su Fong did not know what the woman's purpose was, so he first followed behind her, maintaining a distance of 3 miles. The air currents did not affect the woman much, but to Su Fong, a heaven immortal, it was very frightening. And, suddenly, after going more than 5 miles, they arrived at an extremely slender abyss filled with air currents. What they saw was the unbearable space Xianguang. It could devour matter and people at any time in the depths. There's another aura that appears and disappears, even more powerful than this woman. The great perfection ability shocked Su Fong to the point that his brows were burning. He immediately hid, not daring to follow too close. He could still see the woman shuttling through the air currents, but she quickly slowed down and flew into the cliff to the left. Then a hoarse, old woman's voice sounded. "Duh, didn't you find any traces of Fairy Xuanqin? She and Aunt are both heavily injured and should be hiding nearby." With so many experts chasing after her, it's impossible for her to leave the Phoenix Transformation Valley. To her, the most dangerous place is also the safest place. Aunt Ling Tuo is useless. I can't find her aura, but I can find the aura of the evil person by Tsubing. He is also constantly looking for Fairy Xuanqin, and that expert Qin Xian also appeared nearby once. Bai Tsubing's body is filled with strange poisons and is not easy to deal with. Annie has also fallen into his trap. As for Qin Xianfeng, his strength is too terrifying, and he comes from the Qin clan. This person has a powerful and tyrannical lightning technique. Fortunately, Tuar's heavenly eye is not bad. And to you, to be able to find these people, it has been hard on you. What are you talking about, Annie? I didn't think that Fairy Xuanqin would be so powerful. So many people couldn't snatch away her treasure. It seems like there are experts from the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls door coming soon. Should we give up? The 5-colored Xinguang that Fairy Xuanqin obtained is no longer an ordinary Dao artifact. It's very extraordinary. If it's not a Dao artifact, it's a peerless spiritual treasure. And can see the origin of that treasure? I can't. It's just that Dao artifacts and spiritual treasures rarely release 5-colored light. It's definitely a heaven-defying item, and it's very likely to be a spiritual treasure. I don't care about ordinary treasures, but in this Phoenix Transformation Valley, other ancient treasures are nothing. Other than the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dao grounds, it's the treasure that Fairy Xuanqin obtained. Annie can't come here for nothing. Since Annie has made up her mind, then Tuor can only do his best to help Annie obtain that treasure. The two women's voices were like gossamer and were covered by most of the air currents. However, they could not escape the peerless ability of a great perfection paragon. Hearing this, Su Fong trembled. He didn't think that Fairy Xuanqin would obtain such a treasure. The key was that Bai Tsubing, Qin Xianfeng, and this mysterious woman were constantly chasing after her. He didn't know who Qin Xianfeng was, and he didn't know the origins of this woman. She might be as strong as Bai Tsubing and was definitely a terrifying figure. It's too dangerous. There are so many experts. Su Fong's mind was as sharp as a sword. He was thinking frantically while secretly sensing the movements of the two women. He thought to himself, Fairy Xuanqin's life might be in danger this time. The treasure that she obtained is truly extraordinary. However, her 5-color Xinguang is not as attractive as the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase that monk Shangde once obtained. That is a peerless treasure left behind by the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. The Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase. He had always been thinking about the monk Shangde, especially after he obtained the Bai Shan Ancient Devil's Golden Core. This person kept appearing. Why? Because he had once obtained the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase from among countless experts. That was the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's treasure, which was equivalent to Su Fong's. It was a pity that the monk Shangde's cultivation was shocking. Even heaven-defying experts like Bai Tsubing and Wanderer Yuan couldn't do anything to him. It was enough to show how powerful this person was. Then, he could only snatch the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase back when he broke through to the Heaven Immortal Realm and reached the Mystic Immortal Realm. I'm not in a hurry to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase. If I don't find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's vase in the future, wouldn't those cultivators who had obtained the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's treasures come to me automatically? After settling down, this abyss didn't have any spiritual energy. It was filled with star sand and complicated air currents. After waiting for half a month, there were finally movements in the abyss ahead. Following his hearing, he sensed the sound of two countercurrent currents a few miles away. Su Fong continued to follow behind. He didn't expect that the closer the two got to the abyss, the easier it was for them to enter the extraterritorial space. In his senses, the two suddenly stopped. He didn't know what had happened. When Su Fong released his senses to the surroundings, he didn't expect that there was a powerful aura deep in the abyss. It seemed to have discovered the two female cultivators and disappeared in a flash. It seemed to be a heaven-defying expert. Following the two women, he continued to go deeper. He searched for dozens of abysses and canyons, but he found nothing. It wasn't until they suddenly came to an abyss with continuous air currents that the two female cultivators suddenly increased their speed. Why did they suddenly increase their speed? When Su Fong came to the air currents where the two were, his great perfection ability suddenly sensed a vibration that affected the air currents in the abyss. It came from almost 6 to 7 miles deep in the abyss, and he couldn't hear it clearly. However, he was sure that it wasn't a natural vibration. His heart couldn't help but beat faster. He stabilized his breath and continued to move forward. As he got closer, he felt that the vibration came from a depth of 10 miles. Then, when he got closer, he heard the collision of magic treasures and supernatural powers. Then, the air currents in the neighboring abyss were affected. He cast the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. Unexpectedly, a familiar Tao rune flashed across his mind. Within the Tao rune, he could vaguely see a beautiful woman in a white dress. She was also wearing a faintly discernible white jade mask. Fairy Xuanxin found it. The life shrinking technique was an existence that even the great perfection ability couldn't compare to. There was no doubt about this. Su Fong immediately hid his aura even more perfectly and continued to approach the irregular air currents. His whole body was affected by the air currents, and his aura was constantly shattered. Fortunately, as a heavenly immortal, Su Fong could use the power of the world to a very high level. There is also good news from the Crucible Transformation Realm. With the help of the Crucible Transformation Realm and Su Fong's help, Green Feather King had merged with the World Fragment. Green Feather King had become the first big goblin to have a world fragment. In the infinite world, how many big goblins had a world fragment? Most likely, they were the legendary Demon Emperors and Demon Emperors. In this way, Green Feather King's cultivation speed would increase several times, especially his strength. If he didn't use magic treasures, then Green Feather King's combat power would be the most abnormal among the big goblins. He still needed a world fragment. At this time, he didn't think so much. After chatting with Green Feather King for a while, he let him continue to cultivate. By tubing, a familiar poisonous true qi came out of the air currents and rushed towards Su Fong. Although it was only a remnant, it couldn't escape Su Fong's senses. Moreover, he also sensed the unique and complex true qi from Fairy Xuanxin. Thinking that he was not Su Fong now, but the ghost-faced Rakshasa, he suddenly released a sharp gaze and continued to approach the depths. When his great perfection ability saw the depths of the Xianguang, where even the air currents were torn apart, he saw Fairy Xuanxin by tubing, a middle-aged female cultivator and an old man. For experts were using magic treasures to kill each other in the air currents of the abyss. Each of them was a true expert of the present age. At the same time, he also sensed that the female cultivator called Ling Tua was hiding in a rock a few li away. She didn't participate in the battle, but her gaze was very worried about the middle-aged woman fighting the old man. It seemed that woman was the aunt she spoke of. These people were going all out to steal Fairy Xuanxin's treasures. In this abyss of air currents, they used all kinds of heaven-defying abilities and magic treasures. All kinds of attacks spread out for 1 li. Under this kind of situation, the air currents within 1 li of the abyss were scattered by their power. It turned out that the natural power of heaven and earth sometimes became very ordinary in front of human experts. Su Fong suddenly held his breath. Like Ling Toa, he hid in a dark place and waited. It has nothing to do with me. Fairy Xuanxin is facing so many experts, and I can't help her. Wait a moment. Fairy Xuanxin is a peerless genius of the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate. Yin Xin and many other experts of the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate have already appeared. They can appear here at any time to help her. However, the 4 experts were getting crazier and crazier. Fairy Xuanxin was also injured. It was also the first time that Su Fong saw the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate's ability being used by Fairy Xuanxin. Even a casual sword chi contained various sword formations and sword intents. It was rumored that the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate was a major power that had the most extraordinary abilities. Even a constellation of 9 heavens couldn't compare to it. Every disciple of the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Gate had a shocking cultivation technique. It was indeed true. He also saw the familiar by Tsubing use poison gas. If it wasn't poison fire, it was poison liquid. He first protected himself before attacking the other 3 experts. As for the old man, he didn't know where he came from. However, at least he wasn't the immortal Qin Feng that he had only heard of. His strength was also extremely perverse. Although the ant was heavily injured, a very mystical aura of Tao emanated from her body. It could dissolve some of the attacks of the various abilities. This middle-aged woman had a very extraordinary cultivation technique. Su Fong looked at the experts one after another. They were all existences that he couldn't fight. Luckily, he didn't plan to deal with the monk Shangda and take back the Netherworld Emperor's bottle from him. Otherwise, it would be a difficult sword battle. These people's Dharma treasures are all at the peak of high-grade Tao treasures. I reckon that they all have supreme-grade Tao treasures that surpass the high-grade Tao treasures. However, even with their cultivation, they probably can't use the supreme-grade Tao treasures more than a few times. Those Dharma treasures are used to protect their lives. After staring for a while, the few of them sank deeper into the airflow. Huh, who knew? Another old man charged over. This person had a white mane and was dressed in a large black robe. There were some strange fangs or stone beads hanging from his body. No one asked who he was. With a leap, he suddenly appeared in the middle of the 4 experts. With such a move, he didn't care about the strength of the 4 experts. This person was definitely immortal Qin Feng. In an instant, it became a battle between the 5 experts. No matter how they fought, Fairy Xuanxin was the most important person. All kinds of dangerous attacks were always around her. Chapter 1101. Secretly looking at the dangerous killing intent in front of him and the peerless methods of the experts, Su Fong felt a sense of powerlessness. But if it was in the past, this feeling would make him feel inferior. But now, it was not inferiority, but a kind of humility. This kind of humility was the understanding and precipitation of one's self, hiding all emotions, and in the end, it was the source of explosion. If he felt inferior, back then in the small world, when he challenged the state of Zhao, he was still immortal. Had he ever felt inferior? Now that he had come to the great thousand immortal world, he was curious about the endless world, as well as the determination to constantly move forward. And he kept reminding himself that one day, he would also become an immortal emperor. Swish, swish. After that Qin Xian crazily killed for a period of time, he did not expect that a few more experts would be summoned, and they were all very young, most of them around 30 years old. After some secret understanding, these people turned out to be famous geniuses and experts. Suddenly, Su Fong heard movement and used his perfect vision to look. A jade-faced man in his 30s actually dared to bow at Fairy Xuanxin under all kinds of dangerous attacks. Fairy, I am Lang Liyun. You don't remember why you have to force yourself to join forces with me. I can definitely bring you out of this place. Lang Liyun was another powerful figure, and he was so young. Fairy Xuanxin did not have the time to care about him. It was just that this Lang Liyun's skin was not ordinary. It was very thick, and he even took the initiative to break the heavy attacks that were released towards Fairy Xuanxin. He wanted to be a flower protector. Lang Liyun, thank you for your love. I will not look at a playboy like you. After a few entanglements, Fairy Xuanxin finally let out a cold shout. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Lang Liyun seemed to have lost his soul and lost his spirit. And Su Fong found that he did not know where this person came from. He actually floated in the middle of all kinds of attacks, and the surrounding experts did not take the opportunity to attack him. Lang Liyun. Just as Su Fong was staring at the handsome and somewhat wretched Lang Liyun, Law's voice came from his body. If you know the origin of this Lang Liyun, then you know this great world. There's still many great worlds you haven't understood. What, Luo? You even know about this Lang Liyun? Su Fong was very shocked. An expert, such a young cultivator, even made Luo treat him with special respect. No, I don't know this Lang Liyun, but his aura is very familiar, very familiar. This guy has a very strong background. It can be said that his background is a place that the Yuan Fortune Great World, the Xian Ao Great World, and the other Great World factions that you know do not dare to ignore. Luo's words made Su Fong unable to find north and south. But at this time, the killing in the depths was even more fierce. A few more people came in, and more than a dozen peerless experts did not allow Fairy Xuanqin to leave this abyss. As long as she took half a step, all kinds of attacks and magic weapon blade lights shackled her like a meat grinder. Why haven't the experts of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate come yet? With so many people besieging Fairy Xuanqin, Su Fong was really sweating for her. The situation seemed to be somewhat wrong. With Fairy Xuanqin's cultivation, it should be easy for her to contact the experts of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate. But at this time, the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate did not send an expert. It seemed that there was only one explanation. It was not that the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate did not come, but that they did not know where Fairy Xuanqin was. Fairy Xuanqin did not inform the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate at all. If she had informed them, with the power of the Clear Skies Thousand Scrolls Gate, they would have come long ago. Su Fong felt that it was a little unreal. What kind of woman is this? She has the heroic spirit of a man, usually giving people a sense of tranquility. But in the presence of experts, she suddenly turned into a mysterious female cultivator who seemed to be possessed by victory. Chi! The battle lasted for more than half a day. None of the more than 10 experts had died, but they were all staring at Fairy Xuanqin's every move. At this moment, another expert joined in. The difference was that this person was also wearing a mask. When he entered, he was about to approach Fairy Xuanqin at an astonishing speed. Everyone, including Su Fong, thought that Fairy Xuanqin would definitely use a powerful sword chi to kill the masked man. But unexpectedly, that man easily passed through the attacks of the others and flashed to Fairy Xuanqin's side. When Fairy Xuanqin flicked her fingers in the air, a thunder rune flashed, and an ancient thunder technique with the aura of thousands of soldiers and horses galloped in the void of the abyss. It was swift and violent, and it was unexpected and fast. This ancient thunder covered everything. Thunder was the most terrifying power in nature. This was also proven at this moment. The thunder spread, and even Su Fong's perfect vision was affected. About 2 breaths later, the thunder had not disappeared, but the depths of the canyon were collapsing, and the airflow was even more terrifying. Su Fong looked again with his perfect vision. He could no longer see Fairy Xuanqin and the mysterious man who had suddenly appeared. He looked around again. The experts, including Bai Tsubing, Crazy Immortal Qin, and Lang Liyun, were all affected by the thunder technique. In addition to the collapse, they were all fighting each other. This group of people had gone crazy from the killing. It's good to save her. This way, Fairy Xuanqin will be safe with someone helping her. In fact, as long as she takes the initiative to contact the Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Door, everything will be easy. No one will be able to snatch the treasure from her. I should also leave this place. There are collapses everywhere. I don't want to affect the airflow of the abyss. It's very likely that I will be swept into the outer realm again. In the outer realm, just thinking about it made him afraid. Taking advantage of the chaos in front of him, Su Fong hurriedly fled in another direction on his flying sword. The commotion behind him was getting farther and farther away. He let out a sigh of relief. Since that was the case, Su Fong planned to rush back to the constellation of 9 heavens. In fact, he was worried about Dai Yi. However, there was still no news of her. He did not know which outer realm she was in. Su Fong did not have the ability to find her from one outer realm to another. Unless he had the cultivation of an immortal emperor, he would be able to truly sense the starry heavens and earth. Sometimes, even cultivators were helpless in this situation. Who would have thought that Su Fong, who was flying in the air, would suddenly sense a familiar aura nearby? It was very empty. It was not a perfect ability. It was the heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Strange. Why did he suddenly feel the same? In an instant, he used the heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Countless mystical runes circled in the divine aperture world. Then, Su Fong flew to the left. Suddenly, the runes in his mind turned into a woman. It was Fairy Xuanxin. Su Fong was shocked. It was too much of a coincidence. Why did he meet Fairy Xuanxin here? He did not care too much. He just wanted to get closer. After all, he had the perfect ability. He believed that Fairy Xuanxin would not be able to sense him from several miles away. After entering several abysses, it was still very complicated. After about 7 or 8 miles, Su Fong gradually hid behind a cliff covered in leaves. He looked at the thick starry fog in front of him and the fog that rolled out from time to time. 1,000 meters deep, he saw a faintly discernible formation. He also moved closer. When he was about 1.5 miles away, his perfect ability began to gather and settle. After just 2 breaths, his vision and hearing could penetrate several miles of starry fog and airflow. He saw a natural cave in the cliff. In the cave, there were 2 figures standing. When he got closer, he saw Fairy Xuanxin's pale face. The other person thought that she was wearing a mask, but when Su Fong saw her, he realized that she was Gu Huajun. She was the powerful expert who went to the constellation of 9 heavens with Fairy Xuanxin. Then, she came alone to the astral Huangzi to train. As expected, they were very close. When Fairy Xuanxin was in trouble, Gu Huajun immediately came to help. Fairy can be considered to have escaped from danger. Her fate was not good, and she was unable to be together with Yin Xinxin. Right now, Huang Fufei and Yin Xinxin are extremely close. If she were to know about the 2 of them, I reckon, seeing the 2 of them, Su Fong also decided that it was time to leave. What? Suddenly, Fairy Xuanxin, who was standing in front of Gu Huajun, spat out a mouthful of blood and almost fainted. Gu Huajun quickly caught her. What's the matter? Su Fong continued to stare. Fairy Xuanxin wiped the corner of her mouth with a silk handkerchief. Yin Xinxin also came to the astral Huangzi. He knows about me, but he didn't come. I heard that Yin Xinxin came to the astral Huangzi with a woman. I heard that he has a very good relationship with that female cultivator. Gu Huajun found it hard to swallow. Yin Xinxin, do you really have to be so heartless? It's fine if you don't care about the past, but do you really have to embarrass me in front of the world? Senior sister, didn't you forget about Yin Xinxin? What's so good about that crazy guy? That's the first man I loved. Can I forget him just like that? Women are different from men. Men can forget someone very quickly, but women are different. Senior sister, there's another news. Don't take it to heart. I heard that Yin Xinxin obtained one of the 10 great Tao artifacts, the twin swords of destruction, with the help of Huiyin Shinrikyo. Uffed. With Gu Huajun's help, Fairy Xuanxin couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. There was only innocence and anger in her eyes. Yes, I gave him the incomplete map back then. Without me, how could he have gotten the twin swords of destruction? I really regret it. Senior sister, take this pill. Don't worry about Yin Xinxin. That crazy guy lied to you again and again. He was ambitious from the beginning. Gu Huajun hurriedly took out a pill. Fairy Xuanxin didn't let him put it into her mouth. Instead, she took the pill herself and swallowed it carefully. Twin swords of destruction, one of the 10 great Tao artifacts. Su Fong also heard it clearly. He felt that a real genius was rising in the big world. Yin Xinxin. Why is the power of my true qi and golden core dissipating? Suddenly, Fairy Xuanxin's shocked voice sounded. Su Fong immediately looked over and saw that Fairy Xuanxin was held in Gu Huajun's arms. She struggled to release her true qi, but she couldn't control it. It kept flowing out her body. She stared at Gu Huajun in disbelief. There's something wrong with the pill you gave me. Senior brother, why is my body starting to heat up? Gu Huajun suddenly sneered and hugged Fairy Xuanxin tightly like a tiger. Junior sister, I've liked you for so many years. You know that, but you only have eyes for Yin Sun Shin, right? I've liked you for a long time. Ever since we entered the sect at the same time, I've fallen deeply in love with you. Your smell, your figure, your smile. I can only look at you from afar every night. I can't fall asleep while facing the starry sky. Do you know, junior sister? I've been waiting for this moment for tens of thousands of years. Today, you're mine, Gu Huajun's, the first man in the world who can truly have you and occupy your body. You and I have always treated you as an older brother. Senior brother, you and I are siblings. You can't touch me. You're not a beast. Fairy Xuanxin was so frightened that she couldn't believe it. She never thought that Gu Huajun would have such thoughts and even try to kill her. Chapter 1102. Beast. Gu Huajun suddenly grinned and stared at Xuanxin's pale body. Her skin was already flushed red. You think I'm a beast? Ha! Seeing him laugh maniacally, Xuanxin hurriedly used her hands to protect her body, but she was unable to gather any true qi. She was as weak as a mortal. I'm a beast. I'm a beast. For so many years, I've been standing behind you. When something happened to you, no matter how big or small it was, I was the first to stand up. I thought for you and protected you. You even said that I'm a beast. All these years, what woman didn't take the initiative to come to me? But with you around, I didn't even look at them. Why is it because I'm a beast? Senior brother, I'm my older brother. I treat you as my big brother. Later on, you chose Yin Xinshin. When I saw the two of you entangled with each other, when he hugged you and smiled, I hated it to the extreme. I really wished that the person standing beside you was me. But that wasn't me. You would rather be deceived by a man. You had to say that the person who loves you is a beast. But I didn't know that you had such feelings for me. Gu Huajun suddenly lifted Xuanxin's chin with one hand. He looked as ferocious as a demon. Now, I'd rather be a beast. I've missed you for so many years, protected you for so many years, and missed you for so many years. I've always thought of you back in my heart. No, Gu Huajun, am a genius of my generation. I'm not inferior to Yin Sun Shin. Didn't he have the means and the mind to use you to get everything? Back then, if you had given me the map fragment, I could have also obtained the twin swords of annihilation. I hate myself for not being ruthless enough. If I had become someone like Yin Sun Shin, I would have definitely surpassed him. Xuanxin moaned weakly. Tears streamed down her face. Senior brother, let me go. I'll remember your kindness for the rest of my life. I'll also help you surpass Yin Sun Shin. Then, you'll have a woman who's 10,000 times better than me. Senior brother, you're the best. You'll always be the best in my heart. Haha, I don't need you to say that. You've already fallen to the point where even Yin Sun Shin doesn't look you in the eye. You're right. I, Gu Huajun, will find a woman who's better than you in the future. But now, I've protected you for so many years. I've taken your body as a reward. Isn't it worth it? I've done so much for you. I only want your body. I've done so much for you. I only want your body. You'd better. You don't resist. I've planted. If you touch me, I'll kill myself on the spot. Xuanxin stopped struggling. She stared at Gu Huajun without blinking. Junior sister, I forgot to tell you that the medicinal pill's power will make you take the initiative to touch me. It won't be me touching you. You'll cry and beg me to do whatever I want of you. You'll want me to touch your skin, touch your everything, and suck you. I'll kill myself right now, and then you'll die a horrible death. Junior sister, let me give you a piece of advice. People have to live. No matter if it's a good life or a cheap life, only by living can you have everything. I won't stop you from killing yourself. But before that, I'll tell you the truth. You obtained a special treasure that sealed your aura. Even I couldn't find you. You also didn't take the initiative to contact the sect. But you didn't suspect that I was able to find you so quickly. What do you want to say? The truth is often cruel. Junior sister, I don't want to say it, but I have to. You should know that in this world, there is someone who controls your life, origin chi. He used to dual cultivate with you, and he knows your aura like the back of his hand. That person, yes, it's him. He secretly told me that you were here. Impossible. Although he no longer has anything to do with me. There's no need for him to harm me like this. Haha, you're too stupid. It was Yen Sun Shin who secretly told me your location and told me to kill you. The special treasure you obtained was Yen Sun Shin's repayment to me. That's why I was able to find you so quickly. I believe you don't have the slightest doubt, right? Who asked you to dual cultivate with a man who used you. Even your primordial spirit and life origin chi were under his control. At this point, Gu Huajun suddenly bared her fangs and brandished her claws. She hugged the trembling and weeping fairy Xuanxin. Her bright red skin and seductive moans had long been attracted. At this moment, he was no longer a cultivator, nor was he a man. He was a beast who only used his lower body to control everything. Everyone has their own needs, but this guy, the third pair of eyes, saw everything, including the conversation, like the back of her hand. A shameless look as Su Fong spat out a mouthful of saliva, shot out like lightning. I'd rather die than let you have your way. It seems like I'm really a failure as a person. I've misjudged the first man in my life, and now I've misjudged the second man. Fairy Xuanxin spoke again. She looked at the familiar man in front of her. Her hand was already touching her lapel, and she was about to undo the layers of black clothes. Chi! A finger suddenly touched her left arm and the space between her eyebrows. At this moment, she couldn't say a word. Gu Huajun suddenly released a spirit vein and placed Fairy Xuanxin on top of it. He lowered his head and moved his upper body from Fairy Xuanxin's thighs. He deeply enjoyed the unique scent of her virginity. He opened his mouth and laughed. At least before you die, I, Gu Huajun, will have your body. Then, even if you die, you won't be a woman for nothing. Junior sister's first time always hurts. Don't worry, I, Gu Huajun, am not a man without emotions. I know how to be tender towards women. The effects of the pill will last for 3 days. Within these 3 days, I will make sure you are the happiest woman in the world. Gu Huajun's eyes were filled with excitement as he stared at Xian Xian's robes. Fairy Xuanxin could only be manipulated by him. I'll be a ghost. Just as she said these 3 words, Gu Huajun suddenly covered her mouth with one hand. Chi, you're worse than a pig or a dog. Just as Fairy Xuanxin shed a tear in despair, and Gu Huajun's other hand was about to reach in her chest, a sword light with shocking poisonous gas suddenly streaked in front of Gu Huajun like a shooting star in the night sky. Pa! Gu Huajun was so frightened that he trembled. He couldn't care less about Fairy Xuanxin. He suddenly grabbed the sword light with his palm. However, he was frightened by the strong poison and kept retreating. At the same time, the poison runes chased after him and exploded around him. Hua! A figure, a white-robed man with a demonic face, sucked the spirit vein into his palm with one hand and helped Fairy Xuanxin up with his right hand. You're courting death. How dare you ruin my Gu Huajun's plans? The poisonous gas couldn't trap Gu Huajun. He controlled a green light pearl and stepped into the air. He valiantly appeared in front of Su Fong, who had just helped Fairy Xuanxin up. They were only 5 feet apart. Gu Huajun's anger jumped, but he suddenly suppressed it. A figure with a strange blood-red mask appeared in his eyes. People of the evil path, killing you isn't a big deal. Tell me your name. I don't kill people without a name. On one hand, Su Fong was protecting the struggling Xuanxin fairy, while on the other hand, he was releasing a lot of poison talismans. I'm a demonic face Rakshasa. I like to be a Rakshasa. I'm ruthless and merciless. I'm a Rakshasa. A hero saving a beauty? Why don't you take a look at yourself and see if you're a coward or a hero? When you attacked just now, I knew that your cultivation wasn't high. You used poison, but you can't compare to an expert like Bai Tsubing. Don't go anywhere today. After I kill you, I'll still have to have sex with my beloved for 3 days and 3 nights. I really don't believe that these words came from the mouth of a genius from the clear skies, Thousand Scrolls Gate. Haven't you heard that the extreme of love is hatred? I love my junior sister, and that's why I don't want her to be destroyed by others. I want her to be perfect, and no one can destroy it. I'd rather destroy this perfection myself than regret it for the rest of my life. If everyone thinks like you, then this world is filled with hate, not love. I think you've gone mad, mentally perverted. Su Fong suddenly spoke in a shameless tone, really wanting to spit a mouthful of saliva. Could it be that a demonic cultivator like you also likes my junior sister? It's none of your business. Then you're wrong. She's my woman. She's my Gu Huajun's woman. No one can take her away from me, not even Yin Sun Shin. Don't even think about it. Hand over your life, soulless life. Gu Huajun, who was burning with a ruthless aura, instantly pushed his speed to the extreme. After he finished speaking, he disappeared from the meteor mist a few feet away. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, a figure controlled a magical treasure sword aura. The dark red sword aura was like a snake, slashing towards Su Fong from a distance of 10 feet. Amazing. His attack was done in one go. Slap. He wanted to kill Su Fong. While protecting Fairy Xuanxin, a bright light flashed in his eyes. A giant black figure angrily appeared in front of Su Fong. He first heard an ear-piercing sound, and in the next second, the sharp tip of the sword pointed at the giant black figure's chest. This is neither the sword nor the giant black figure had the upper hand. Instead, they were in a stalemate. The figure behind the sword light was Gu Huajun. He looked at the giant black figure in front of him in surprise and immediately jumped back in fright. Go, blood poison talisman. Su Fong was standing on the feather fan, and the giant black figure flashed over. A large number of poison talismans? At least 100 of them swept across the void when Su Fong left with the feather fan, and then turned into a large number of blood poison talismans. The array shattered in an instant, and the blood poison engulfed the void of the abyss. Su Fong and the giant black figure quickly flew into the depths of the abyss. Su Fong glanced at Fairy Xuanxin, who was supported by his left hand. She was drenched in cold sweat. She moaned softly, but with anger, she gritted her teeth and glared at Su Fong. Her hands subconsciously wanted to protect the front of her body. She's mine. More than 20 feet behind them, the blood poison and the airflow turned into a shocking wave. Gu Huajun stepped on his flying sword and chased after them as if he wanted to eat them. He still threw out a large number of talismans made of blood poison. With a wave of his hand, there were 100 talismans. With a few waves of his hand, there were hundreds of talismans blocking the path between the two sides. Blood poison talismans were immediately set off from behind. Explosions, one after another. Su Fong roared with a hideous smile. Gu Huajun, you've been poisoned. Why don't you see how powerful my poison is? Although I'm not Bai Tsubing, this poison is also unique in the world. Don't think that the height of the poison doesn't affect you much. Once the poison enters your body, you'll need 10,000 years to neutralize it. Damned Rakshasa, you damned Rakshasa. Gloomy, tearing, and angry roars came from the exploding blood poison. But Su Fong, under the protection of the feather fan and Fairy Xuanxin, entered another abyss and disappeared in the airflow. Looking behind them, there was no one. He released the power of the great perfection, but there was still no sign of Gu Huajun. As my cultivation continues to increase, Gui's strength also increases. It seems that the blood poison's power is already enough to affect the elders. Although I can't kill Gu Huajun, it's enough to stop this person. The lines of defense in his heart finally disappeared. Chapter 1103. Gu Huajun was truly a powerful expert. Her strength was not much different from a mortal Changgu's. After a while, they arrived at a very hidden abyss in the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. He also cast out an enchantment. Unexpectedly, just as he was about to check Fairy Xuanxin's injuries, the other party was already powerlessly curled up. Except for the white jade mask on her face, the rest of her body was soaked with blood and sweat. She found that Su Fong was constantly approaching her. She grabbed her arms with both hands, scratching her arms until the skin broke. Her nails even dug into her flesh. Not only did she have to guard against Su Fong, Fairy Xuanxin did not know what kind of power it was, but it actually made her unable to condense her true qi. She felt as if she could not catch her breath, especially when a layer of red spread from her jade neck to her whole body. In particular, There was a mysterious aura slowly permeating from her skin to her robe. It felt as if a delicate and beautiful flower bud was blooming. For Su Fong, this mysterious aura seemed to naturally attract his hands and his whole body. Master, Fairy Xuanxin has been poisoned by a strange poison. This kind of poison is generally used to deal with women. Moreover, she cannot bear this kind of power. What kind of poison is it? In fact, it is a sex drug used to stimulate love between a man and a woman. I heard that it is especially effective on virgins. No virgin can resist this kind of drug. Sex drug, Gu Huajun's so-called love, is it like this? Master, if the other party is a virgin, then they must have sexual intercourse. Only with sexual intercourse can the strange poison in her body be alleviated. Moreover, during the sexual intercourse, I heard that the woman must be repeatedly orgasmed. Only after a certain number of times can the strange poison be resolved. If the poison is not detoxified, then this fairy will certainly die. There's such a strange poison in the world. In this world, there's a righteous path and a demonic path. Naturally, there are cultivators who cannot do anything else. This kind is called the demonic path. Their methods are unimaginable to cultivators of the righteous path. Mao Chong was able to see the scene outside through sound transmission while in the crucible transformation realm. After grasping this, he immediately sealed the crucible transformation realm. He then looked at Fairy Xuanxin. At this time, she was still the number one fairy. Although she was tortured by the strange poison and could not even moan, she still tried her best to control herself. She didn't even dare to look at Su Fong. Fairy Xuanxin tore open the skin on her arms. Her 10 fingers had already dug into her flesh, but the blood-colored aura in the depths of her skin had already begun to show signs of blood. Furthermore, the aura of the golden core and the magic power of the divine aperture were seeping out. If this continued, the golden core would lose its true chi and disappear completely. Without magic power, the divine aperture would also shatter. In the end, he would become immortal. This kind of pain was 10,000 times more torturous than breaking through and getting injured. In addition, her whole body was covered in scars. Suddenly, at this moment, Su Fong's eyes were cold. He squatted down and slowly said, "Fairy, I have a way to save you, but please cooperate. I don't need you." Fairy Xuanxin struggled. In her eyes, there was only fear and despair. Su Fong was very patient. "Fairy, you misunderstood. My way to save you is not through sexual intercourse. Instead, I have a wonderful power that I was born with. This power is an amazing power of yang. It can be injected into the fairy's body to help enhance the yang power in the fairy's body. When it fuses with the yin power in the fairy's body, it can gradually sense the strange poison and finally suppress it. Moreover, I don't even need to touch the fairy. Fairy, your jade body is still pure and flawless. It's really possible." Fairy Xuanxin's lifeless eyes suddenly disappeared. They became strong and lively. The yin and yang power of yang is indeed a good method. But you're a Rakshasa. Why do you want to save me? What are you scheming? At this time, the fairy was like an injured hedgehog. She would stab anyone she saw. It was natural for her to have such thoughts. At this juncture, the number one fairy wanted to protect her innocence and survive. However, the prerequisite for survival was her innocence. Innocence transcended everything. Scheming. I'm Ghostface Azura, a member of the evil Tao. After this, I'm afraid that I won't have the chance to meet Fairy again. So I guess there really isn't a reason for me to scheme. Perhaps Gu Huajun was right. Even if I'm a hero, saving a damsel in distress, I'm actually a coward. How could I have the ability to save a damsel in distress? I just happened to be seizing the opportunity, and Fairy wanted to protect her innocence, even at the cost of her life. What do you want me to do? Perhaps she was suddenly moved by Su Fong's sincerity, or perhaps she didn't have a choice. Fairy Xuanxin suddenly nodded weakly. "Sit down. I will inject the yang power in my body into the fairy's body. The fairy can rest assured. The yang power in my body is not ordinary power. It is obtained through cultivation. In addition, the fairy's yin and yang are in imbalance. As long as I inject the yang power into your jindan, meridians, and flesh, you can gradually resist the strange poison. During this time, I will also inject a detoxification pill to help the fairy suppress the poison. All right. Slowly, with great difficulty, she used her bloodied hands to support herself against the stone wall. It seemed that she would faint at any moment. At this moment, Fairy Xuanxin also knew how precious time was. It would be bad if she delayed any longer. Su Fong didn't move at all. Only when Fairy Xuanxin sat down did he use the Xian Guang, enveloping Fairy Xuanxin within. A shocking amount of yang power gushed out from his palms. It wasn't ordinary yang power. It was the power of the 9 suns that Su Fong cultivated. The fairy has been poisoned for such a long time. Ordinary yang power won't be of much use. I can only use the power of the 9 suns to get rid of Xiao, Mei the big goblin, and the slaves. In this world, she is the first cultivator who has my power. In a way, Su Fong also couldn't bear to use the power of the 9 suns. If it wasn't to save someone, he naturally wouldn't use the power of the 9 suns. Now, he couldn't care about anything else. The power of the 9 suns easily drilled into Fairy Xuanxin's skin and seeped into her blood. The power of the 9 suns contained shocking power. Like a flood, it poured into Fairy Xuanxin's meridians, flesh, and bones. Even her golden core, heart, and divine aperture were filled with the power of the 9 suns. After about half an incense stick's time, Su Fong suddenly shouted with a supreme aura, "Fairy, I've already controlled the power of the yang. The power of your golden core and divine aperture can no longer seep in. I've controlled your body and the poison." "Thank you." As expected, Fairy Xuanxin gently spread her arms. She could actually use force. Her eyes were filled with shock. What kind of yang power could not only bring her strength, but also the power of life, causing her life force to rapidly increase? She didn't think about herself. Instead, she looked at the cultivator wearing a strange mask in front of her. Then, she activated her magic power and fused it with the yang power true qi in her body. As expected, the seals in her body and the array formations in her flesh began to release their power. After a while, Fairy Xuanxin said embarrassedly, You can release your power now. If it's of any help, just let me know. I'll just rest outside." Seeing that it was inconvenient, Su Fong flashed and left the array formation. Outside the array formation, he looked around at the majestic and terrifying cliffs, strange rocks, and turbulent air currents. He immediately sat down cross-legged and used his great perfection ability to see if there were any experts around. Fortunately, there was no aura. Gu Huajun couldn't find this place because Su Fong was inside the array formation. He used the power of the life shrinking technique. Thus, any aura inside the array formation couldn't be sensed by the outside world. I finally understand. Su Fong, who was guarding outside the array formation, slowly looked forward. It's not Gu Huajun who wants to kill Fairy Xuanxin. It's Yin Sunxin who wants to get rid of Fairy Xuanxin. That man obtained some Annihilation Twin swords and became so arrogant. He's vicious and merciless to such an extent. But what surprised me the most was Gu Huajun. When I first saw him, I thought he was a righteous person who cared for Fairy Xuanxin. But I didn't expect him to twist the love he had for tens of thousands of years, causing him to hate. If he can't have her, he wants to destroy her. So love is the most terrifying power in the world. He sighed for a long time. Then, ignoring everything else, he used all the true qi in his body to cultivate the 9 yang 9 transformations and began to attack the 21st yang meridian. He estimated that the yang meridian was about to be completed. In a dangerous place, far from the Phoenix Transformation Valley, a wretched figure arrived at a forest. Gu Huajun. He swallowed a pill and calmed his breathing. Then he looked around. His eyes were filled with terror. Even if he tried to suppress it, he couldn't do it. How is it? At this moment, another figure appeared out of nowhere. It was actually the number 1 disciple of Huayan Shinrikyo, Yin Sunxin. Gu Huajun cupped his fists. Brother Yin, it's all the fault of those experts. I've already launched a sneak attack on Xuanxin, but it was still ruined by them. Although I didn't see Xuanxin's in with my own eyes, with so many people chasing after her and being so vicious, she's dead for sure this time. Yin Sanxin wasn't angry. Instead, he was very calm. You've done your best. After all, Bai Tsubing, Qin Xianfeng, and the others are all as strong as the elders. Brother Gu, don't worry. What I promised you will naturally be effective. In the future, you and I will be on the same side. Where the Yin Sanxin has a foothold, there will naturally be a foothold for you. This is our secret. I don't want anyone to know what I've done. Do you understand? I understand. Go back. Be careful. Whoosh! Gu Huajun decisively turned around and flew into the void. This person's strength is also shocking. Even his sneak attack succeeded, but he still can't kill Fairy Xuanxin. The number one beauty from the 9 Heavenly Stars Palace, Huangfu Fei, suddenly came to Gu Huajun's side. Xuanxin's strength is already very strong. She's stronger than most of the elders. This woman seems to be on guard against me. Gu Huajun was a good chess piece, but she still couldn't get rid of Xuanxin. In the future, I want to inherit the Huayin Shinrikyo and make it a peerless force in the celestial world. I can't let others have something against me. Xuanxin can be considered a stumbling block in my path of cultivation. Those who achieve great things will do anything. When you shock the world one day, your strength will speak for itself. Who will dare to say anything? With the twin swords of destruction in my hands, I have nothing to fear. Gee, the two flew into the sky side by side. In the abyss, the airflow was hidden in the abyss. Within a matrix, Su Fong was still holding his hands together. He looked calm, but he was trying to break through the 21st meridian. He could feel that he was about to succeed. However, at this moment, there was a sudden movement within the matrix. Su Fong stood up and stepped into the matrix. As soon as he entered the matrix, he saw Goddess Xuanxin. She was just like the first time he saw her. Holy, quiet, and mysterious. However, the injuries on her body were still shocking. For a woman, such injuries should not have appeared. He could not underestimate this woman. In the Huangzi Astral, she was able to survive the pursuit of Bai Tsubing, Qin Xian, and many other peerless masters. This was her strength. It meant that she was someone who had crawled out from the dead. Strength and beauty were the most appropriate words to describe her. It was as if she was the real number one goddess. It was not the first thought that people would have, that she was the best in the world because of her appearance. Chapter 1104. Su Fong stopped about 10 meters away from Fairy Xuanxin. He cupped his fists and said, "Congratulations, Fairy. However, there's still some poison in your body that hasn't been cleansed, and your injuries have only recovered by 60%. Why don't you continue recuperating? You have a powerful gaze." Fairy Xuanxin's eyes couldn't be seen clearly under the white jade mask, but her gaze was familiar and cold. "My own power is very special. It's my fault that you have my aura in your body. I shouldn't have peeped at you so easily. What plans do you have?" Su Fong suddenly realized something and immediately apologized. "I can sense that you want to know how I've recovered from the bottom of your heart." But this time, Fairy Xuanxin's gaze was much warmer. She actually bowed formally to Su Fong and said, "Thank you for saving me, young master. Xuanxin will never forget such a great favor. If you want Xuanxin to do anything, Xuanxin will agree to any of your conditions." She had just finished speaking when she looked at Su Fong. Su Fong had already turned around. His back seemed so lonely. "Fairy, I'm not asking for anything in return for saving you. If you really want a reason for saving you, perhaps we've met once somewhere in the past. Before I leave, I still have something to say. Even if I'm being nosy, I'll just say it." Su Fong, who was about to step out of the array, suddenly slowed down and elongated. "If Fairy gave your love to that person, I believe that person would be the happiest man in the world. Fairy would rather die for this love. Yin Sanxin isn't worthy of Fairy's love. I feel that life is precious. If you waste your life for someone who isn't worth it, then Fairy really isn't worthy of my saving." Whoosh! He left behind the last word and flashed out of the array. Puffed! Fairy Xuanxin's body trembled again, and she spat out a mouthful of scarlet blood. She lowered her head. No one knew what expression she had under the white jade mask. Wait. Unexpectedly, in a breath, Fairy Xuanxin also stepped out of the array. The moment she swept past the cliff of the abyss, she caught up with Su Fong in an instant. Su Fong was very surprised. He looked at Fairy Xuanxin and turned pale with fright. Gu Huajun could find you because Yin Sun Xin has your aura. Fairy, you should return to the array to heal your injuries first. It's not too late to leave after removing your aura or seal it. Fairy Xuanxin held a Xianguang. You saved my life, and I can't just say thank you. I'm T. I feel at ease. In this Xian seal. Hey, this is my token of my heart. It. Xianguang, is, and Su. It, fairy points. TTTT, SD. TTT. TTT. It was a 5-colored treasure. The fairy's gaze hardened. I understand. Think about it from my point of view. I shouldn't express any gratitude to the person who saved my life. This 5-colored treasure is just a treasure. It's not worth mentioning compared to my life. To me, it's actually not that important. If you don't want it, I'll let it fall into this abyss. I made up my mind. Both of them quieted down. It felt like the two of them were the only ones left in the world. Then, in less than 3 breaths of time, Su Fong caught the Xianguang and sucked it into his palm. I don't know if I'll be able to see Fairy again in the future. Take care, there are plenty of good men in the world. Of course, cultivators also live for the sake of cultivation. When the day comes, Fairy's name will definitely be passed down through the ages. With that, Su Fong once again disappeared into the airflow. Fairy Xuanxin paused for a while and immediately returned to the array. When she arrived at the array, she looked at the array imprints in shock. Why have I never heard of Rakshasa? This person's array can completely conceal my aura. I can't do such a thing. This Rakshas's strength doesn't even seem to have reached Gu Huajun's level. But how can he master such a magical power? What kind of man is he? Perhaps no one would ever answer this question. A few miles away, Su Fong was constantly shuttling through the airflow, entering one abyss after another. He was also constantly stepping on the airflow to fly to the higher abyss. Fortunately, he didn't encounter any danger along the way. He smoothly left the abyss and came to the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. He stepped on his flying sword and disappeared into the star fog. At the edge of the desolate swamp astral world, inside a towering mountain range, the travel-worn Su Fong came to the cave and sealed everything with an array. He let Tung Ba come out to guard the void dust cauldron while he entered the Hua cauldron. Under the protection of the array, he used the power of the cauldron transformation. Su Fong instantly shattered and turned into the state of the yellow spring blood sea. At this time, the blood water was more than 10 feet deep. It looked very terrifying. He began to cultivate the yellow spring blood sea. Su Fong's physical body condensed in the blood water. He also began to attack the 21st meridian. After a certain extent and maintaining the state of cultivation, even he was surprised. He had mastered the yellow spring blood sea to such an extent. At the same time, he could also attack the Yang meridian and cultivate the 9 Yang 9 transformations and other cultivation methods. It was amazing. Even Su Fong himself didn't realize that he had mastered it to such an extent. 5-colored Xianguang exotic treasure. He opened his mouth and spat. It came from the Xianguang condensed by Fairy Xuanxin. After absorbing the Xianguang, what was revealed surprised Su Fongda. Originally, he was very curious about the 5-colored Xianguang exotic treasure and couldn't wait to know what kind of treasure it was. After swallowing the Xianguang, the exotic treasure turned out to be an oval-shaped stone. Was it a stone? When he took a closer look, it didn't look like a stone. It looked like an egg, a stone egg. The stone egg was about half a foot long and round. It was originally just a stone egg, but the surface of the stone egg released an inexplicable 5-colored luster. Although the 5-colored luster wasn't dazzling, it seeped out of the stone egg, turning the stone egg from an ordinary stone into an amazing exotic treasure. It is indeed a treasure. How can an ordinary stone have this kind of 5-colored luster? The luster is very mysterious. It doesn't feel like something from the immortal world. After studying it for a while, he couldn't tell what it was. He felt that Law should be quite bored. He had extraordinary knowledge and probably knew what kind of treasure it was. After all, he even knew Night Demon. Law's consciousness gradually spread out. Su Fong tried his best to cooperate. He also wanted to know what this stone egg was. After a while, Law said, "You really picked up a treasure." "I didn't pick it up. It was given to me by someone who did a good deed." Su Fong pricked up his ears. He really wanted to know what kind of treasure the stone egg was. He guessed that Law knew about the treasure. "You did a good deed. I think I'm here. The number one fairy is naturally the number one beauty. You did pick up a treasure. You picked up a great beauty. You didn't take the opportunity to solve her physiological problems. If it were others, they wouldn't even dream of such a good thing. Although I'm lecherous, I won't take advantage of others. Hey, don't tell me that you haven't been moved by the number one beauty Xuanxin after meeting her several times. You're not moved. I'm not moved. The gap is too big. If we're at the same height, then I can still have that kind of thought. Now I don't have any thoughts. Moreover, I don't know her very well. I'm not a stud horse. I'll fall in love with whoever I see. Law, let's talk about serious matters. You make it sound like I'm not a serious person. Cough, cough. You know whether you're a serious person or not. Okay. I'm convinced. I didn't have the chance to talk about this stone egg. Your stone egg itself is extraordinary. It's probably an egg laid by some ancient creature and has been buried in the ruins of the wasteland. It's really an egg. After talking nonsense for a while, Su Fong became serious at this time. Law said casually, "I really can't see what's inside this egg. After all, most of the young immortal's power has been consumed by the blood jade. If it was at its peak, I'd probably be able to see through it. The most important thing is the five-colored Xianguang on this egg. It's also extraordinary. What's its origin? It's related to the Phoenix Transformation Canyon. From the five-colored profound light of this stone egg, I felt a strange change. That is, the aura of a deity transforming into a deity. It seems that the five-colored profound light truly came from the godly phoenix. In other words, it's some kind of creature that transformed into a phoenix. At the moment of its transformation, the power of that creature's transformation just so happened to come into contact with this stone egg. For some unknown reason, it actually caused the power of that creature's transformation to fuse with this stone egg, and instead change the aura of life within the stone egg. Cough, it's a little complicated. Complicated is simpler. Yes. How simple is it? I understand it as soon as I hear it. This stone egg absorbed the transformation power of a creature from an immortal to a god. Then, because of the transformation power, the stone egg became this wonderful and inexplicable existence. Understand? I understand. Su Fong was speechless. She sighed and stared at the five-colored stone egg. She asked again, "Law, according to what you said, the stone egg itself is an ancient creature. In the end, it was inadvertently changed by the transformation power of the legendary creature in the Phoenix Transformation Valley. The life in the stone egg also has some kind of power of that creature. You could say that. That's why this stone egg is really a treasure. It has already absorbed that powerful creature's power of transformation and has become a mutated beast. For example, perhaps the life form of the stone egg used to be a huge snake. It could absorb the power of transformation and grow legs, wings, or other abilities. Strange beast, is the Pig Horse King and Tong Tian Demon venerable in my body counted? This is a kind of life and the self-improvement process of cultivation. But this stone egg is different. It was directly changed by an external force. It is a real strange beast. This kind of strange beast is 1 in 10,000. Plus, the life in the stone egg itself is an ancient creature. Therefore, this strange beast is even more extraordinary. Not to mention 1 in 10,000. Even in the whole big world, you won't find a second one. Don't you think it's a treasure?" Su Fong couldn't help but caress the stone egg. Hee, my luck is too good. Law suddenly said, "So you have to hurry back to Star Palace and absorb more great pregnant purple chi. Fusing with the purple chi Dharma spirit will make your luck even better. Also, I feel that you and Xuanxin Fairy have interacted a few times and formed a destiny connection. I can guarantee that you will meet again in the future. Law, are you kidding me? I'm not kidding. I'm a serious person. Law snorted proudly and then went silent. As for Su Fong, he suddenly slapped his head. He hadn't asked Law how to fuse with the stone egg. Since Law didn't say, it meant that he could solve this problem himself. How to fuse with the stone egg was a big problem. This was a strange beast. Once it hatched, it would probably be on par with the legendary dragon and phoenix clan. I got it. I'm currently cultivating the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. I can just toss the stone egg into the blood water and let it absorb my essence energy and true energy. Then I'll be able to cultivate the Yellow Springs Blood Sea and open my 21st meridian. There was a solution soon. He also understood Law's intention. It seemed that Law knew everything, but he didn't say anything. He wanted to give Su Fong space to grow. Chapter 1105. The multicolored stone egg floated in front of Su Fong and suddenly sank into the blood water. A faint multicolored light emerged from the inside of the blood water. The blood water swept several times, but the stone egg did not absorb it as fast as expected. It still needed some time. Since there would not be a result soon, Su Fong also began to attack, swallowing all kinds of elixirs. When resources entered the blood water, they burst into sparks and flames. Now the Yellow Spring Blood Sea's swallowing ability was 10 times more powerful than before. Any elixir could be swallowed in a short time. This made Su Fong's overall cultivation speed improve tremendously. Buzz Su Fong, who was sitting cross-legged in the blood water, after a while of cultivation, suddenly there was movement from his body. He was pleasantly surprised and absorbed the Yellow Spring Blood Sea into his body, together with the multicolored stone egg into the yin-yang Dao wheel, and continued to merge. He flew out of the crucible transformation realm and came to the barren mountain array. Looking at the yin-yang Dao wheel, most of the 21st meridian that was being attacked were burning with yang qi flames. The flames were very amazing, causing all the yang qi in the yang meridian to attack this meridian. Even the power of the world fragment of yin and yang poured into this meridian. The impact was no less than 1,000 times. Path meridian shook violently and wanted to rush out of the body, followed by a burst of yang qi xianguang. The whole vein turned from flesh to jade in an instant, and grayish-white yang qi poured into the meridian. The 21st yang meridian was successfully born. Using all the true qi, he began to attack this yang meridian. And the 21st yang meridian also began to approach the yin-yang Dao wheel. At the end of the 21st yang meridian, the two were connected and became a part of the yin-yang Dao wheel. At this moment, the yang qi in the body seemed to have lost 1/3. The new yang meridian swallowed a lot of yang qi. It would take a long time to reach a full state. Just that. The birth of one more yang meridian raised all the yang qi in the body to a higher level, becoming more unfathomable. Every drop of yang qi was the essence. At the same time, after the birth of the 21st yang meridian, it also improved the cultivation speed, especially the 9 yang 9 transformation realm. When the time comes, I will take the opportunity to attack the peak of the 5 Dao realm and step into the 6 Dao realm. I have the elixir, and I can continue to cultivate the Yellow Spring Blood Sea in the Crucible Transformation Realm. When the Yang Meridian calmed down, he returned. With Tung Ba guarding the Crucible Transformation Realm, he did not have to worry about it. His body quickly transformed into the Yellow Springs Blood Sea state, and Su Fong's physical body condensed in the center. While cultivating the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, he kept devouring pills. At the same time, a thought shot out from his eyes. A man in black appeared beside Su Fong. This sovereign, so was his second primordial spirit. Su Fong said bluntly, "This body of yours isn't of much use, and you're not a very powerful expert. I just happen to need to break through a realm. Give me this body of yours, and next time, you can just take over a new body." The second clone was domineering. It was Su Fong who dominated the 5 great small worlds. The body does not have much impact on my cultivation. Instead, when you break through your realm and strengthen your primordial spirit, I will become stronger. Moreover, I also need to devour some life force and primordial spirit. This body is yours, but next time, you have to find me a new body as soon as possible. Not only do you and I share the same primordial spirit, but I am different from you. You only need to cultivate your primordial spirit. But my primordial spirit has the amazing ability of Night Charm after devouring the primordial spirit rune talisman of Night Charm. Not only can it become stronger by devouring primordial spirits, it can also devour life essence. I know that you will slowly gain some of Night Charm's abilities. Don't be too anxious, slowly master Night Charm's abilities. When we return to the Star Palace, I will find you a body. After agreeing, a black light flew out from the mind of the second primordial spirit. It was the second primordial spirit. When the primordial spirit left the body of the man in black, whose primordial spirit had been devoured and taken over by Su Fong, suddenly became cold. Although it was still breathing, it had no thoughts and was just a living dead. No need to be polite. He waved his hand and grabbed a golden elixir from the lower abdomen of the man in black. Then he extracted most of his vital energy and threw the man in black into the Acheron Blood Sea. This was the first time Su Fong wanted to devour a cultivator with the Acheron Blood Sea. The man in black fell into the blood water and was drowned in it from the beginning. There were shocking crimson flames and smoke, and then his skin was devoured by the blood water. His skin fell off layer by layer, revealing his flesh. His flesh began to melt like ice in the blood water. Soon, less than 2/3 of his body was left, and it was still being devoured at a shocking speed. The refining speed was so fast that Su Fong found it hard to believe that this was the ability of the Acheron Blood Sea. Of course, it was inseparable from the blood transformation true body, the Black Lotus true body, the perfected ability and the power of yin and yang. It was impossible for the Acheron Blood Sea alone to have such an amazing speed. After many cultivation sessions, the Acheron Blood Sea already had all kinds of abilities of Su Fong. The combination of the two abilities led to such an abnormal devouring speed. It could also be said that the #1 cultivation technique of the Acheron Devil Emperor had been improved imperceptibly after meeting Su Fong. Its ability had become even more abnormal, and this was only the initial state. When Su Fong completely mastered the Acheron Blood Sea, even he himself could not predict the extent of the devouring. Su Fong deliberately calculated the time to devour a powerhouse. It took about 6 days. After devouring, the power of his physical body was obviously improving. The blood water surged more violently, and the vital energy in his body increased a lot. He was about to reach the peak of the 5 Tao celestial immortal realm. Only then did he devour the golden core in his hand and directly put it into the yin-yang Tao wheel. After the golden core was shattered, all the power was devoured and disappeared in the yin-yang Tao wheel. The blood water was improving his life force and vital energy, and Su Fong in the middle of the blood water was also improving his vital energy. With two approaches at the same time, how could this cultivation not be terrifying? Of course, only by mastering the Acheron Blood Sea could one have such an amazing cultivation method. About 3 years later, the Acheron Blood Sea was sucked into Su Fong's body by opening his mouth and flying out of the crucible transformation. When the crucible transformation disappeared in his palm, under the guard of Tung Ba, his body burst out layers of tribulation chi. The tribulation aura came out and suddenly turned into a blazing tribulation fire in a terrifying state. It continued to burn and soon covered an area of more than 100 feet. The impurities in the placenta gushed out, and the force of the impact shook Su Fong's body to the point that it made crackling sounds. All this was not painful. All he could do was wait. When he could control the power of promotion, he began to devour the elixir and let the elixir's power assist him. Soon, the breakthrough was over, and there were 6 Tao marks all over his body. Taking a closer look, the golden core, origin, meridians, flesh membrane, and divine aperture all had 6 Tao marks, which meant that Su Fong had stepped into the 6 Paths Celestial Immortal Realm. 6 Paths Celestial Immortal Realm. At this moment, when he released his perfect sensing ability he could already cover 25 miles. This was the edge of the wasteland, but his sensing ability was already so amazing. I haven't used my blood transformation true body for a long time. Let's see how powerful my blood transformation true body is. Chi suddenly, while the vital energy in his body was still weak, he formed a seal. His skin suddenly changed from its natural state to blood red, and many blood patterns formed on his face and skin. Puff blood bones grew out of his left and right shoulders, which then turned into blood horns and began to grow forward. This process was 100 times more painful than the breakthrough. He could feel that his bones were being pulled out by the blood horns. All his strength was concentrated on the blood horns. Soon, Su Fang's entire body was filled with evil qi. There was devil qi, but most of it was evil qi. Ruthlessness and bloodthirstiness intertwined together. He had turned into a monster with a bloody horn on his palm, eyes red, and body twice as strong as before. This was the state of the blood transformation true body. He opened his arms, and his body was full of fierce divine power, from the top of his head to the bottom of his feet, especially the blood horns on his chest. Strong, perfect. When I use my blood transformation true body, I feel that my strength has surpassed the celestial immortal realm and reached the height of the Xian immortal realm. In this state, it is full of the smell of battle and killing. It is as if there is someone deep inside me, constantly reminding me to kill. Your great circle ability is already very shocking. Even in ancient times, it would be outstanding. However, you still need to work hard. The ancient people of the past, for example, the giant race, were ordinary people. However, when they used their great circle ability, they would become 10 times or even 100 times larger. They would become giants as shocking as monsters. Law suddenly spoke. He probably sensed that the state of the blood transformation true body was extraordinary. But your nightmare blood transformation is a bit threatening. Plus, you cultivate a demonic cultivation technique. It is best not to use it too often. If you lose control of your will in battle, you will fall into the demonic path. A human's body can become 100 times bigger. The power of the perfect body was beyond Su Fang's imagination. Soon, the blood transformation true body disappeared. When Su Fang returned to normal, he activated the Black Lotus true body. It has been a long time since he activated the true bodies. He did not expect that when he activated the Black Lotus true body, dense blood-red lotus threads would grow from his palm. They were very sharp and were estimated to be at least as strong as a low-grade Dao artifact, or even stronger. The Black Lotus blood threads are all over my body now. I can let my true qi and blood flow slowly in them. But the Snow Lotus blood threads are still too thin. When they become 100 times thicker, I will be able to use my true qi normally. At that time, my life force and cultivation will be even higher. The Black Lotus blood threads grew about 1 meter long and disappeared in his palm. Next, he began to cultivate the giant diamond body and other divine abilities. With the help of pills, his strength kept stepping into the normal state of the Six Paths realm. A few years later, the constellation of 9 heavens, a figure flew out of the barrier. It was Su Fang. This time, he left for 20 years. After experiencing life and death in the Huangze astral world, his demeanor, aura, and gaze were all different. There was also a more simple aura. He did not look like a cultivator who had only cultivated for a few hundred years in the great world. Passing through the familiar Huangfu Dao grounds, he knew that Huangfu Fei was still in the Huangze astral world. He did not care and soon passed through the 9 Dao grounds and returned to the treasure secret realm. He first returned to the palace. It was surrounded by ruins and was still quiet. His palace was deep in the ruins and could not attract attention. Entering the palace, everything was the same. He only raised the height of the formation and rested for a few days. Immortal Long Gu sent him news. It was mainly about Dai Yi. When he returned, he told the upper echelons that Dai Yi had fallen into the extraterritorial space-time. The upper echelons of the Star Palace ordered the experts to stop looking for Dai Yi and prepare for the training that the 4 major sects were going to hold in the Huangze astral world. He also knew that many special disciples had gone to the Huang Ze astral world to look for their own adventures. After knowing all this, Su Fong continued to absorb the great pregnant purple gas and merged with the purple gas lost spirit to increase his luck again. Celestial Pool Peak. Following Su Fong to the outside of the pool peak, he saw a familiar face, Huang Liao. He cheerfully greeted Su Fong, and the two of them had a congenial chat. In the Celestial Pool Peak, most of the cultivators had been in contact with equipment refining all their lives and rarely participated in the sex, open, and covert struggles. Huang Liao was one of them. Huang Fuju. Entering the interior of the pool peak, Su Fong suddenly sensed something and walked towards another path. At the end was a refining cave. Chapter 1106. When he came to the crafting cave and passed through the formation, Xian Guang released an aura that attracted the attention of many disciples who were crafting with the three cauldrons. Huang Fu Shaoying. Most of the disciples in the formation cave were in the heavenly immortal realm and mystic immortal realm. Su Fong's arrival was like a stone thrown into a calm lake. There were a few core disciples floating above the cauldrons. One of them was Huang Fuju from Huang Fu Training Hall. When he saw Su Fong, he frowned in anger and surprise. The other core disciples also stared at Su Fong indifferently. It seemed that he was still not welcomed by these people here. Su Fong walked straight to the cauldrons with his chest held high under everyone's different gazes. The token showed that he had a different identity from every disciple here. Su Fong, who had just entered the treasured artifact's secret realm, suddenly became a person that everyone paid attention to. He came to the top of the largest cauldron and looked at the core disciples casually. Huang Fuju, what are you looking at? What are you not convinced about? Are you still thinking about that time? If you're not convinced, I can fight with you at any time. Humph. Senior brothers, let's talk again when we have time. Who knew that Huang Fuju and a few of his trusted subordinates knew when to advance and retreat? They obediently left the formation cave. Senior brother, why don't you teach him a lesson? You're a core disciple. You have a good relationship with those senior brothers. There will be plenty of time in the future. Let him jump? Jump? Well, anyway, his relationship with Mu Shuo is very bad. I don't need to do anything. Naturally, someone will take care of him. Many people want to teach this kind of crazy personal lesson. Huang Fuju and his trusted subordinates left the formation and walked out of the cave. They chattered outside unwillingly. When he heard them, he also thought that Huang Fuju suddenly made things difficult for him. Su Fong could guess that it was related to some people in Huang Fu Training Hall. As soon as Huang Fuju left, the other core disciples were also indifferent to Su Fong, giving Su Fong a good environment for refining tools. He took out some raw materials and keystones that he had prepared beforehand and tossed them into the largest cauldron. It looked like he was forging a weapon, but in truth, he had already taken advantage of the flames to come out of the cauldron and absorb the primordial violet qi within. The great pregnant violet qi couldn't be seen. Su Fong sat cross-legged at the side. Because of the artifact forging, the artifact cauldron spewed out extremely powerful flames. Ordinary heavenly immortal disciples would either lose a layer of skin or be heavily injured if they were to touch it. The flame itself carried some strange sparks or halos. In fact, these different colored flames contained the great pregnant purple qi. Together with the flame ejection, they were miraculously absorbed by Su Fong's right arm. Comfortable. A familiar scent began to surge in his right arm. The purple qi Dharma's spirit, which had been dormant for a long time, suddenly came to life. It flowed continuously from his 5 fingers to his shoulder. It felt like his entire right arm was a stream of purple light. The power of the purple qi flowed back and forth. Moreover, the great pregnant violet qi that permeated the surroundings of the cauldron also gathered together with the flames of the 3 artifact cauldrons. All of it was devoured by Su Fong. He could clearly feel the purple qi Dharma spirit rushing out of his arm and into his body. Unfortunately, the great pregnant violet qi wasn't enough. He still needed to absorb more. At the same time, he also placed the Xianhuang 6 Paths Pagoda, the Flaming Cloud Spiritual Gourd, and the starry daylight sword into the artifact cauldrons to upgrade their quality. These mid-grade Dao tools weren't as attractive as high-grade Dao tools. During this process, some disciples came over to chat with Su Fong. Only then did they realize that Su Fong wasn't hard to get along with. About a year later, the great pregnant violet Qi in the largest artifact cauldron in the center was completely absorbed by Su Fong, who had reached the heavenly, immortal Six Paths realm. Unfortunately, the purple Qi Dharma spirit was still fused within his right arm. Then, he secretly absorbed the purple Qi Dharma spirits from the other two artifact cauldrons. When he was nominated as a special disciple, he absorbed all the great pregnant violet Qi from the three artifact cauldrons in the cauldron. It seemed like there wouldn't be any great pregnant violet Qi left in this cauldron either. Using the Star Palace's artifact cauldrons to refine the three Dharma treasures is too comfortable. I don't have to worry about anything. I only have to take out some special materials. The Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda, the Flaming Cloud Spiritual Gourd, and the Starry Daylight Sword are all constantly improving. Time flew by just like that. His main focus was on cultivation and the improvement of the three Dharma treasures. As for refining, he didn't put much effort into it. To him, refining a low-grade Dao tool wasn't difficult at all. About 5 years later, there was a sudden hubbub in the cauldron. It turned out that Su Fong had successfully refined a low-grade flying sword, which attracted many people's envy. No matter how talented these disciples were, they could only refine a low-grade Dao tool every few hundred years. On the other hand, Su Fong had refined 2 low-grade Dao tools in less than 100 years. That was the difference. After refining the flying sword, Su Fong flew out of the cauldron and towards the deepest mountain in the treasure weapon mystery land. That was the place where the authority of the treasure weapon mystery land gathered. As soon as he arrived at the hall, he saw some familiar faces. He didn't know if it was a coincidence or a good timing, but there were many higher-ups gathered in the hall. There was even the elder of the treasure weapon mystery land, Master Luan. After asking around, he found out that in 10 years, the Star Palace would unite with the other 3 powerhouses and hold a joint training in the Huangze Astral. There would be 100,000 disciples from the Star Palace joining. The treasure weapon mystery land had to prepare a large number of Dharma treasures in such a short period of time. Almost all of them were low-grade to middle-grade Dao tools, as well as some upper-grade Dao tools and top-grade upper-grade Dao tools. When Su Fong presented the tool in front of everyone, the higher-ups praised him. In such a short period of time, he had refined another Dao tool. Master Luan had witnessed Su Fong's growth step by step since the 10,000-year competition. Although they didn't interact much, he had always been aware of his growth. With that, Su Fong had another 100 years of time. After 100 years, he would hand over the Dao tool that he had refined. For the next 100 years, he could control it himself. Coincidentally, Wang Yuzhen had sent him a lot of thoughts over the years. As such, Su Fong also needed to collect some alchemy resources. After contacting the other party, Wang Yuzhen happened to be in the Great Ancient Dojo and told him to go there directly. Great Ancient Dojo, he thought that he was going to the Bodhi spiritual world. After leaving the treasure weapon mystery land, he flew for a while in the ruins of the dojo and arrived at a shocking realm. Great Ancient Dojo. This was one of the most important dojos in the constellation of 9 heavens. It was the place where many geniuses rose. Activating the token as a core disciple and a nominated special disciple, Su Fong wasn't shackled by the array and easily stepped into the array. Just follow the aura. The Great Ancient Dojo is very big. The center is the cultivation enchantment, and the outer area is the disciples' cave. Wang Yuzhen's voice came directly from the depths of the vast ruins of the dojo. It was his first time coming to the Great Ancient Dojo, so he naturally wanted to see how extraordinary it was. When his perfect sensing power covered it, he didn't expect the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to be 3 times more abundant than the treasure weapon mystery land. The inside of the dojo was no longer ruins, but pagodas made of arrays and rocks. These pagodas were probably cultivation dojos with unlimited space inside. There were some disciples' cave residences nearby. He could sense and see them cultivating. Baby Huangfu was also in the great ancient mystery land. But thinking of Huangfu Fei and the Huangfu Dojo, Su Fang didn't have the heart to find him. After passing through a large number of cave residences, he arrived at a forest. The forest was covered by 3 layers of arrays. When Su Fang arrived, a female servant flew out and politely led him into the forest. After passing through the forest array, he suddenly found some injured core disciples. They were all in the mystic immortal realm and were waiting outside a big hall. After asking the female servant, he found out that these people had returned from the desolate lake astral world after being injured. They were buying some healing spiritual items from Wang Yuzhen. When these disciples saw Su Fang being led into the hall by the female servant, they were very curious. They were all core disciples and could only wait outside, but Su Fang, a heavenly immortal realm disciple, received special treatment. Before entering the hall, there was another array. After passing through the array, there was a unique garden in front of him. His sensing power made him unable to appreciate the scenery. He didn't expect to sense 2 familiar auras in this garden, as well as a few very powerful existences in the mystic immortal realm. With a glance, he saw Wang Yuzhen sitting in a pavilion in the depths of the garden. In front of her was Li Tianxi, and Li Tianxi brought a few people with him. The female servant asked Su Fang to wait at the side. Wang Yuzhen probably also knew that Su Fang had offended Mu Shuo and Nangong Xiu, which would inevitably offend Li Tianxi. It was better to avoid him. After half a day, Li Tianxi and a few people directly broke the array and left. Hearing the conversation between the 2 sides, it turned out that some experts around Li Tianxi were also in urgent need of some spiritual items, so they asked Wang Yuzhen to help get them back in the shortest time possible. He didn't expect that Wang Yuzhen, a core disciple, had such a deep relationship with special disciples. As Su Fang came to the pavilion, Wang Yuzhen said without hesitation, "I didn't expect you to be so good at refining. Just now, someone from the precious artifact's secret realm sent a message saying that you have refined a low-grade Taoist artifact in a few decades. Your speed is many times faster than Qin Kuei." Back then, he also refined his first Taoist artifact in 1,000 years. After that, he refined one Taoist artifact after another in a few hundred years. Su Fang saluted. "Senior sister, you are awesome. I can't hide anything from you. I don't want to waste time with you. I wanted you to come over and help me appraise treasures, but you weren't here. I only asked other senior brothers. Why do I feel that your whereabouts are very mysterious? Everyone in the sect either knows that you are in the precious artifact's secret realm or that you have left the dojo. Then you disappeared. You're just like those special disciples." Junior brother also went out to gain experience and look for all kinds of refining materials. In more than 10 years, our sect, the Clear Sky Myriad Scrolls sect, Huiyin Shinrikyo, and Brahma Meditation sect will hold a public practical gathering. Do you want to participate? If not, you can stay here and help me appraise treasures during the practical gathering. I am going to participate in the practical gathering. Of course, I will go to the 4 major sects' practical gathering. I heard that there are many treasures in the Huang Zhe astral world, and there are even ancient treasures. Of course, I will go and try my luck. I am only in the heaven immortal realm, so I don't dare to go alone. But this time, the 4 major sects are holding a joint practical gathering. With so many experts, I'm not afraid of danger. Since you want to go, you can come and help after the practical gathering. Senior sister, trust me. Just give me the treasures now. I will slowly appraise the treasures while I am cultivating. You are so considerate. I will not be polite." Wang Yuzhen was in a good mood. She was really a woman who should not be offended. After giving Su Fang several storage rings, her eyes flashed. This joint practical gathering of the 4 major sects seems to be without risk, but it is also dangerous. My purpose is not for the legendary Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's dojo, but to find many special spiritual items. If you don't have other plans, it is best to come with me in the Huang Zhe astral world. We could take care of each other. Otherwise, if you go to the Huang Zhe astral world with your level, I am afraid there will be nothing left of you. Senior sister, thank you for your kindness. It seemed that Wang Yuzhen really cared about him. After chatting for a while, Su Fong said goodbye and left the great ancient dojo. Chapter 1107. After leaving the grand ancient Taoist rite, they soon returned to the treasure secret domain. When he arrived at the celestial pool peak, he began to absorb the great fertility purple chi from the other formation caves. Su Fong planned to take advantage of the time when the four great sects were about to hold a grand meeting to continuously absorb the great pregnant purple chi to upgrade his three magic treasures. At the same time, he also wanted to break through to the next realm. Of course, it would be best if another Yang Meridian could be born. He reckoned that there would be something really big happening in the joint training held by the four major sects this time. Most likely, the joint training would be for the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dojo. The Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dojo belonged to Su Fong. He would not allow anyone to snatch it away, not even the four major forces. Su Fong sped up the absorption of the great pregnant purple chi. In almost a year, he had devoured all the great pregnant purple chi in the cave. He went to the second chi peak, which was a place of refining weapons that he was unfamiliar with. Fortunately, when the disciples guarding the place saw his token, they did not dare to question him and allowed him to enter the chi peak. Inside chi peak, there were also thousands of disciples who were refining tools in different caves. Among these disciples, only some core disciples had appeared in Su Fong's memories. The rest were all ordinary disciples. About 5 years passed, just as the purple energy of this chi peak was about to be swallowed by the Su Fong. He didn't expect that there would be a buzzing sound in his body. He took it out and saw that it was a rune talisman from the Chamber of Commerce. He had once gone to the immortal AO Great World and negotiated a deal with the Merchant Association. He had asked them to secretly search for the seven-star child and leave it behind. It was obvious that the Chamber of Commerce had found out about the seven-star child's whereabouts. Unfortunately, the rune talisman only had movement. He still had to make a trip to the immortal AO Great World. This made him ponder for a while. It would take a few years to go back and forth from the immortal AO Great World, and the four major sects' grand ceremony was about to be held. At most, there would only be a gap of 10 years. If this period of time was delayed, and the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Bottomanda really did something, then he would definitely regret it. But now that there was news about the seven-star child, he couldn't just ignore it. I'll rush to the immortal AO Great World first and find seven-star child's whereabouts. I don't necessarily have to deal with seven-star child now. Only by knowing his background will I have time to prepare to deal with him. In the end, he decided that he had to rush to the immortal AO Great World. Fortunately, he was a special disciple, so he didn't need to ask for permission from the higher-ups to enter and exit the training hall. After leaving the dojo of Star Palace, he flew towards the boundless star region behind. 3-year stars that looked like voids covered the vast world layer by layer. Su Fong's entire body was in a frozen state. He finally saw the territory of the Cien Ao Great World. After flying into the ground, he was finally able to breathe a sigh of relief. A few days later, he arrived at a city that he had visited before. After meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, the news he received surprised him. His trip was not in vain. Sure enough, there was news about the seven-star child. Back when he suppressed Wang Yuehai, this person had mentioned that an immortal named Immortal Master Yao seemed to know the whereabouts of the seven-star child, and that he was at Carefree Immortal Island. The Chamber of Commerce followed this clue for more than 20 years, and they really did find something. It turned out that seven-star child had left Chani Sacred Mountain several times, so it was easy for the Chamber of Commerce to find out about him. Chani Holy Mountain was located in the center of the immortal AO Great World. It was an existence between a second-rate and first-rate faction in this great world. As it did not have many disciples, not everyone in the immortal AO Great World knew of its existence. Seven-Star Child was not a disciple of Chani Holy Mountain, but he had entered and exited Chani Holy Mountain several times. This was very strange. Fortunately, the Chamber of Commerce had amazing means and managed to find out the connection. It turned out that the Chani Holy Mountain was not as simple as it seemed. Why was it not simple? Strictly speaking, Chani Holy Mountain only had tens of thousands of disciples. It was a third-rate or fourth-rate faction, but why was it called a second-rate faction? The main reason was the origin of Chani Holy Mountain. Chani Holy Mountain turned out to have a great relationship with a first-rate faction in the immortal Ao Great World. This faction was not the Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Door, but the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. The Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. Su Fong had never seen it before, but he had heard of it. There were many major factions in the immortal Ao Great World. The Clear Sky Myriad Scroll Door and the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect were representatives. Of course, there was also Emperor Ning's mansion. It was just that Emperor Ning's mansion was not a cultivation faction, but a special existence built by a powerhouse. The relationship between the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect and Chani Holy Mountain was actually very simple. Chani Holy Mountain had been established for tens of thousands of years. The original founder was an elder of the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect in the past. He was an elder with extraordinary strength. Later, he left the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect and came to a territory to establish Chani Holy Mountain. Because of this reason, he could establish a faction in tens of thousands of years. All of this was related to Seven Star Child. According to the Chamber of Commerce, Seven Star Child was now a disciple of the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. Moreover, his master was also an elder and had a close relationship with the strongest person in Chani Holy Mountain. Therefore, the two experts would often move around, and because of this, Seven Star Child was seen in Chani Holy Mountain. If not for this, the Chamber of Commerce would be looking for a needle in a haystack to find a person without any clues. Otherwise, Jinwu Villazhua, one would have found Seven Star Child's whereabouts through the Chamber of Commerce. Suddenly knowing Seven Star Child's whereabouts, Su Fong could not relax at all. Seven Star Child was actually a disciple of the Clear Sky White Sun sect, and he even relied on an elder. Obviously, Huang Lingyao and Sheng Changsheng also followed him to cultivate under the elder. I have to make a trip to the Clear Sky White Sun sect. After leaving the Chamber of Commerce, he changed his appearance and rode the feather fan to the central territory of the immortal Ao Great World. The immortal Ao Great World also had different forces, such as the immortal worlds established in the Great World. Each immortal world was a vast and boundless boundary. Each immortal world was thousands of times larger than the constellation of nine heavens, or even tens of thousands of times larger. In a great world, there were only about 10 immortal worlds, showing how extraordinary each immortal world was and how powerful the master of the immortal world was. After passing by a few immortal worlds, Su Fong came to a vast territory called the Heavenly Tao Immortal World. When passing through the boundary, he had to pay a lot of immortal stones to the cultivators guarding the immortal world. Heavenly Tao Immortal World. It was actually an immortal world established by the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect. In other words, the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect was so powerful that they were able to establish an immortal world in a great world. This was something that the constellation of nine heavens could not compare to. This was also the first time Su Fong truly integrated into the life of the immortal world. The immortal world was a world formed by huge immortal cities. There were also cultivation forces here, but they were very ordinary. Most of them were chambers of commerce and family forces. As for the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect, it was behind the Heavenly Tao Immortal World and was not far from the immortal world. It only took a few hours for experts to arrive. Su Fong found a large chamber of commerce, which was probably related to the big forces of the Heavenly Tao Immortal World. Naturally, he came to inquire about everything about the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect, as well as Seven Star Child, Huang Lingyao, and Sheng Changsheng. He didn't expect that these chambers of commerce were really powerful. They had a certain record of most of the genius disciples of the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect and could be traded at will. Su Fong thought that the first news he got would be about Seven Star Child, but he didn't expect. When he received the two pieces of information, he found that Sheng Changsheng was not among them. Instead, there were only Seven Star Child and Huang Lingyao. Moreover, The rune talisman related to Huang Lingyao's information was clearly more profound than Sheng Changxing's. It was enough to show that in the heavenly Tao White Sun sect, Huang Lingyao had more news than Seven Star Child. After releasing the two rune talismans, he was suddenly shocked. All kinds of records about Huang Lingyao and Seven Star Child were like waves swept into the sea of vital spirit. It turned out that after Seven Star Child ascended to the big world in the Wutan realm, he joined the heavenly Tao White Sun sect through his own efforts in the immortal Ao Great World. He became a genius of the heavenly Tao White Sun sect with his own talent and efforts. Although he was not outstanding, he was valued by an elder and was accepted as a disciple. As for Huang Lingyao, her record was only about 200 years. Obviously, she ascended to the big world with Seven Star Child and became a disciple of the heavenly Tao White Sun sect. That was not the only thing that had happened. In the record, Su Fong saw a familiar desolate body. It was mentioned that Huang Lingyao was an ascender and an ascender with a desolate body. She had entered the 100 Tao White Sun sect for decades and was accepted as a disciple by an elder. Her status was the same as Seven Star Child. This was not what shocked Su Fong. The key was that it mentioned that Huang Lingyao was no longer a desolate body, but a Tao body. It was also clearly introduced that this woman cultivated in the heavenly Tao White Sun sect and promoted her desolate body to the existence of a desolate body, Tao body. With the identity of a Tao body, she was famous in the heavenly Tao White Sun sect and became the most well-known genius. Moreover, there were several well-known events recently. For example, in the Genius Exchange held with the Heavenly Tao Immortal World, she won first place and was vigorously cultivated by the Heavenly Tao Immortal World. She became the only genius who was cultivated by the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect and the Heavenly Tao Immortal World at the same time. Moreover, this was not the only news that shocked Su Fong the most. The other news was that Huang Lingyao had the Yinshao Thunder Sword, which had been spread in the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect and the Heavenly Tao Immortal World. Yinshao Thunder Sword. It was a peerless magic weapon that Shui Wuying had obtained together. Su Fong still remembered the power of that sword. It was a peerless Tao artifact that he felt could coexist with the Xinjia Gate. Now, in the Xinao Great World, the news that Huang Lingyao had the Yinshao Thunder Sword was probably known by many experts. Of course, only those who paid attention to Huang Lingyao would know this news. In comparison, Seven Star Child's edge was completely surpassed by Huang Lingyao, and it was not just a little bit. How'd Huang Lingyao do it? This woman, Tao body. Su Fong put away the rune talisman, came to a corner of the Chamber of Commerce, and looked at the vast heavenly Tao immortal world through the window. What a good disciple. Among the four, Prince Shui's left arm was cut off by me and disappeared. There's no news of Sheng Changsheng, and only you, Huang Lingyao, are doing well. I remember that you were only a desolate body back then, but I heard from Luo that the desolate body is also an extraordinary physical body and also has all kinds of extraordinary abilities. To be able to cultivate the desolate body into a Tao body, Huang Lingyao is indeed a peerless genius. The Yinshao Thunder Sword is almost comparable to the Xinjia Gate, a heaven-defying magic treasure that coexists with the 10 great Tao artifacts of the Great World. Not to mention the desolate body and the Tao body, just this peerless magic treasure is enough to make her a top figure in the immortal world. It seems that Huang Lingyao now has the Tao artifact and the Yinshao Thunder Sword. These are the two advantages. Huang Lingyao is not only the core of the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect, but also very influential in the Heavenly Tao Immortal World. She's almost at the same level as Huoyin Shinrikyo's Yin Sun Shin. One has the 10 great Tao artifacts. The other has the Yinshao Thunder Sword and the Tao body. To reach the same level as the Yin Sun Shin, Huang Lingyao deliberately hid a lot of tricks in the lower world. The most proud one is Prince Shui, who became the heretical crown prince and whose whereabouts are unknown. Sheng Changsheng is the most patient and mysterious, but in the end, he also ended up in an unknown place. Suddenly, he thought of the former four great venerables disciples, Prince Shui, Huang Lingyao, Sheng Changsheng, and himself. Waves of emotions. Now, Huang Lingyao not only surpassed the 7 stars, but also gradually became a peerless genius whose name shook the Xinao great world. It was really unbelievable. The disciples cultivated by the celestial sealing sect were indeed extraordinary. Huang Lingyao and the 7 stars can be ignored for now, but the third part of the purple Qi Dharma spirit is in Sheng Changsheng's body. I must know his whereabouts. He couldn't wait to obtain the third part of the purple Qi Dharma spirit, but he still needed time to find out Sheng Changsheng's whereabouts. Chapter 1108. Thinking that this was the immortal Ao great world, and the location of the third purple Qi Dharma spirit was unknown, Su Fang used a shocking method to seal the purple Qi Dharma spirit in his right arm. He could not release any of the purple Qi Dharma spirit's aura. Of course, he had to secretly activate the purple Qi Dharma spirit's aura in the immortal Ao great world. No, he had to go to the heavenly Tao White Sun sect to sense the third purple Qi Dharma spirit. This trip to the immortal Ao great world, in some ways, was actually a risky trip. Sheng Changsheng had the purple Qi Dharma spirit for so many years. He might have already fused with it. Or the 7-star child had the purple Qi Dharma spirit. Then he could also use it to sense the purple Qi Dharma spirit in Su Fang's body. If that was the case, he would be hunted down. After leaving the Chamber of Commerce, he turned back into an unfamiliar face and flew slowly on his sword in the sky above the immortal city of the heavenly Tao immortal world. He felt like he was in a city in the mortal world. Everywhere, there was an endless stream of people and carriages. This was something that could not be seen in the 9 Heaven Star Palace, and also something that could not be seen in the Huangze astral world. Here was the prosperity and cultivation of a great world. Some of the cultivation forces in the city were not even third-rate, but they had good conditions. Their dojos were rich in spiritual qi, and they were protected by the laws of the heavenly Tao immortal world. They were not like the Jinwu Villa, which was built outside the heavenly Tao immortal world and could be easily swallowed up by other forces. The imperial city of the heavenly Tao immortal world, his target was the heavenly Tao White Sun sect. But to get to the heavenly Tao White Sun sect, he had to cross the heavenly Tao immortal world. Half a day later, after crossing dozens of cities, there was a city floating in the air like a giant pearl, under the 3 suns in the sky. It looked more like a mirage. This was the imperial city of the heavenly Tao immortal world. Su Fang was not in the mood to go to the imperial city. He had to find Sheng Changsheng first. Even if he could not get the purple Qi Dharma spirit back, at least he would know where it was. Buzz, 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 but he did not expect. When he just flew past the imperial city, around his mind's divine aperture, there were some runes from the life shrinking technique. Imperial City had some presence that was connected to him. Sensing it carefully, he realized that the royal city's formation was very shocking. The aura that the heavenly secret life shrinking technique could sense was also very complicated. For the time being, he couldn't distinguish it. Either it was too far away, or the aura was being protected by the royal city's formation. Huang Lingyao often comes to the heavenly Tao immortal realm. Could it be that her aura and the heavenly secret life shrinking technique always alert me? I still have to make a trip to the immortal city. Perhaps Huang Lingyao is inside. I have to use the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to make my aura even more chaotic. Otherwise, if I enter the immortal city, wouldn't it be the same as walking into a trap? He decided to make a trip there. He used the heavenly secret life shrinking technique to cover his own aura. Unfortunately, he couldn't use the ghost face Rakshasa. When evil cultivators appeared in the heavenly Tao immortal world, they would be suppressed immediately. As soon as they arrived at the royal city's barrier, an expert appeared outside the array. He asked Su Fang several questions and paid an astonishing amount of immortal stones before he was allowed to enter the array. As soon as he stepped into the formation, a vast expanse of mountains and rivers appeared before his eyes. The limitless city was surrounded by forests. There were many palaces and buildings in the city. They were golden and dazzling, shining in the immortal chi. The scenery was beautiful and gentle. The deeper they went, the more vast the palaces and buildings were densely packed. Especially in the depths surrounded by countless immortal cities, there was a floating golden light. That was probably the place where the power of the heavenly Tao immortal world gathered. Su Fong flashed to the streets of the border city. Even the immortal pond outside the royal city was still crowded. He could see mystic immortals everywhere, and most of them were celestial immortals. What Su Fong didn't expect was that from time to time, he could see disciples of the constellation of nine heavens, Huiyin Shinrikyo, and the clear sky myriad scroll gate. Although they were very few, he could still see some. "Brother, I want to come out and take a breather." At this time, inside the void dust cauldron, Bai Ling was anxiously waiting. He really wanted to fly out of the cauldron transformation. "When we leave the royal city, I'll let Sister Bai come out for a stroll. There are probably spies of Huang Lingyao in the royal city. It's too dangerous." Huang Lingyao, that be *TCH. Brother, with your current strength and Sister Bai, you can definitely get rid of her. She has cultivated her desolate body to a Dao body, and she has Yun Xiao's thunder sword. Her current strength is probably higher than mine. Killing her will be a bit of a problem. Bai Ling kept on being mischievous. He just wanted to come out and watch the fun. Of course, the other big goblin also wanted to see the flourishing immortal world. After coming to the great immortal world for 200 years, Su Fong had been cultivating in the extraterritorial realm. It was either the desolation of the Star Palace or the danger of the Huang Zhe astral realm. Not only the big goblin, but Su Fong also really wanted to stay. Fortunately, Su Fong could use his mystical ability to let the other big goblins follow his eyes and see everything he saw. It seemed like Su Fong was alone in the celestial pool, but in fact, there was a large group of big goblins and experts conversing in the Dharma treasure, talking and laughing. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The closer he got, the more Su Fong looked forward to it. In the depths of his divine aperture, there were Tao runes from the heaven's secret life shrinking technique. At this moment, he could finally sense a clear aura. The heaven's secret life shrinking technique caused Su Fong to suddenly part a large amount of fog. He saw a mirror. On the surface of the mirror, there were some tadpole-like Tao runes. From some of the Tao runes, he felt a faint aura from Seven Star Child. Although it was very faint, this aura was the same as when he faced Seven Star Child. Then, there was a very strong and clear aura. Some Tao runes even miraculously fused together to form the image of a woman. The aura was very familiar. It was the former honorable Tao disciple Huang Lingyao. The last aura shocked Su Fong. Some rays of light emerged from the Tao runes. The entire body was dark purple. This aura was exactly the same as the purple Chi Dharma spirit in his right arm. It actually had the aura of a purple Chi Dharma spirit in the king city of the heavenly Tao immortal world. Among the many Tao runes, there were 3 auras that were the strongest. There were also some auras that existed, but Taishu could not sense them. Seven Star Child, Huang Lingyao, purple Chi Dharma spirit. I really came to the right place. It seems like Seven Star Child and Huang Lingyao often appear in the heavenly Tao immortal city. Su Fong quickened his pace and continued to approach the center of the golden radiance. When he finally arrived at the center of the heavenly Tao immortal city, the golden radiance was in front of him. It was actually a shocking barrier that released golden light. Then, there were many cultivators like him around. They could only stop and could not take a step into the golden array. There are so many people here today. They all want to go in and see the heavenly Tao immortal realm's aristocratic banquet that is held once in 1,000 years. The aristocratic banquet. There are so many fairies and geniuses from the heavenly Tao White Sun sect. It's a pity that ordinary people are not allowed to enter. To enter, you have to pay at least 50 million high-grade immortal stones. I heard that after entering, you can only stay at the edge of the imperial city and can't participate in the banquet. 50 million high-grade immortal stones is enough to buy a high-grade Tao artifact. TSK, the entrance fee is a high-grade Tao artifact. Are they ripping people off? It's not expensive. The Imperial City is inside the array. It's magnificent. There are legendary beauties, talents, and geniuses. Maybe you can even build a good relationship with some powerful experts. Su Fong had just arrived here for less than 2 breaths. On the 3rd breath, endless discussions came from the crowd of cultivators in front. Originally, it was impossible to enter the Imperial City. However, when he heard what these people were talking about, Su Fong suddenly became spirited and proud. It was just a high-grade Dao artifact. Even if it was 10 or 100 high-grade Dao artifacts, if he could summon the purple Chi Dharma spirit, he would not even blink his eyes. Although the price was shocking, there were still people lining up. Su Fong also joined the line. After half an hour, it was his turn. After taking out enough immortal stones, he entered the barrier. Then, the burly general led everyone through the astonishing city gate. After passing through the city gate, there was an indescribable group of palaces in front of him. They were all golden, and the deeper they went, the more towering they were. Even if they paid to enter, the surrounding generals ignored them. If someone made a sound, they would be greeted with a tiger-like roar. After passing through many palaces and pavilions, they suddenly entered a palace. There were already cultivators waiting in the surrounding palaces. It turned out that in front of these palaces was a square built with a large number of flowers and protected by an array. The distance was only 3 miles. With the cultivation of the mystic immortal realm, one could almost see through the square, but they could not see it clearly. Su Fong was arranged a seat. The cultivators nearby were at least in the mystic immortal realm. Some of the heaven immortal realm cultivators were the young masters of noble families. The more powerful ones were existences that surpassed the mystic immortal realm. Those people were almost all rogue cultivators or experts from some ordinary families. There were probably tens of thousands of people here to watch this aristocratic banquet. If they did not charge, the Imperial City would probably be trampled to the ground by the cultivators. The surrounding cultivators were much more pretentious than Su Fong. Some of them even brought a few servants to show their status. It should be known that servants also cost a high-grade Dao artifact. The others were all high and mighty and cold. He looked a little poor by himself. There were even people talking about him, saying that he had never seen the world and that it was his first time coming to such a place. How could Su Fong listen to them? Around afternoon, a large number of palace maids suddenly entered the square in front of them and began to set up. There were also palace maids in the surrounding palaces, but all of them cost money and were very expensive. A cup of wine cost tens of thousands of high-grade immortal stones. It made him feel like he had returned to the mortal realm. Everything was based on benefits. An immortal realm also needed money to establish a foothold. Soon, under the respectful welcome of a large number of gold cultivators, all kinds of extraordinary and ethereal cultivators entered the square. There were indeed many female cultivators, and they were all outstanding beauties. The male cultivators were all young talents, and almost all of them were not more than 30 years old. Su Fong heard the surrounding cultivators began to talk crazily. Those female and male cultivators were almost all geniuses of the heavenly Dao immortal realm. Behind him, there were exclamations. It turned out that the disciples of the Imperial City and some geniuses of the heavenly Dao White Sun sect had arrived. Buzz. Su Fong was very careful to hide his aura. He only wanted to see if 7-Star Child, Huang Lingyao, or Sheng Changsheng were there. Unfortunately, among the hundreds of geniuses of the heavenly Dao White Sun sect, he did not find the 3. But when a young man in a yellow robe who was sitting at the top of the Imperial City appeared, a familiar Dao rune actually moved with the appearance of the yellow-robed man. Carefully sensing it, Su Fong felt Huang Lingyao's aura from this person. And it was not an ordinary aura, but a very clear one. Who was this person? Before he could ask, most of the cultivators around him were discussing and praising this person. Only then did he know. This person was the current heavenly Dao immortal realm, the 3rd son of the immortal realm lord, Long Xiaojun. No wonder he was in charge of such a noble banquet. Long Xiaojun also had another identity. He was not only the 3rd son of the immortal emperor, but also one of the 10 great young masters of the immortal realm. 10 great young masters. The son of the immortal emperor and one of the 10 great young masters. I suddenly thought of the divine palace young master behind Red Kite. Su Fong was startled. He continued to listen to the surrounding people talk about this long Xiao Jun. The information he received was getting more and more interesting. For example, the immortal realm lord had 3 sons, but this Long Xiaojun was the most talented of them all. The most important information was that his relationship with Huang Lingyao was not ordinary.